an audience for content.
Yeah. That's what we're here for.
That's what we're here for, is to give the people what they want. Hi, people that
Hello.
want to see us. We're here for you. Yeah, let me know when you can see me or if you're here. But I'm pretty excited for this. Honestly, how did this even happen? Was I complaining to you that I had?
So we were chatting about it, and I think you were low on idea. Like, we were talking about ideas, but we got sidetracked and we didn't talk about ideas. And then I think
Yeah.
you were low on ideas, and then I think we said, "Oh, we should do one of these live because then it's a video."
Yeah, exactly. All I know is I have like nothing planned and nothing scheduled. So, and I was supposed to do a video last week and didn't do it. And yeah, so that got pushed off, which is kind of good because I have it. But yeah, anyways, things are dire, so we're here together.
Yeah.
Hi, Stephanie. With your notes so prepared. What are you reading? Let us know. Robin. Nothing planned for May. I mean, you're welcome to join us but you'll also jinx yourself with baby girl if you do that. But you're welcome to. It's your bed to make. Hello, totally need some content planning. I usually do it with a few people who have not been able to meet up. Oh, yes. Yes. Well, we usually try to. Obviously, I mean, I don't know if all of you are super familiar with us or not, but we have always been planned so far in advance. And this year we're both trying not to do that. And now we're kind of
miserably at that.
Kind of like, wait a second. I mean, I'm still happy with it for sure, because I don't think that planning the rest of the year is great for me right now. But still, I need May. I need something for May.
I'm planned through May, but only just because I had to be, because I wasn't sure what I was going to be doing. I saying to Heather before, I've been going through some medical stuff, and I wasn't sure when it was going to happen, so I had to be kind of organized this month. But yeah, the rest of the year is not really planned.
Well, I know for me, I feel like this year a little bit more. It's been like, you know what? If I only post one video this week, oh wow.
Well,
it's okay.
Well, because I went last year. So last year, mostly for most of the year until sort of the end of the year, I was doing 3 videos a week, and I dropped down to 2. And then my goal was to get back up to 3, but I've scrapped that. So now you kind of get the random 3rd video from me every couple of weeks when I get the idea for something, which is actually a lot nicer, I think, for me to film, to go, oh, I'm actually excited about this and I want it to come out sooner rather than later.
Yeah.
So that's probably been me letting go of over planning.
And that is the thing too. So many of my favorite videos have been those ones that I got the idea, I filmed it, I posted it, like all of it, all of the momentum was right there. Because yeah, I mean, not that I can't plan a video 6 months in advance and be excited when it comes around, but there is something special about just doing it right away.
Yeah.
I need to plan my kooky mayhem things, reading things, and all the bookish things, which is very general. Love that for you and us. Hey, Shay.
Hello.
Yeah. I don't know. Hopefully the rain's not too loud. You guys let me know if it is. But I don't even remember what year it was at this point. It was one of my midlife crises. Posted that one video. I know it was in like July, like a couple years ago, 3 years ago, 2 years ago. I don't even know. Where I went from 3 videos a week down to 2, and I've never gone back. There will be the occasional week with 3. And sometimes when I do have a bunch of videos that I'm excited about, you kind of get 2 or 3 weeks, maybe even with 3 in a row, but it has never gone back to being my consistent expected schedule, and that has been good. Also, back when I was doing 3 and doing 3 consistently was at the beginning of my channel and everything, and I did so many recommendation videos, and I had so many recommendation videos that I'd never done before, so it was like I had a lot of books for them, and a lot of them were like 7 minutes long. Like it was not that difficult to get multiple of them out. So I do think that made a big difference too.
Well, speaking of the rec videos, I don't know if you saw Kayla did a video recently where she went back to, I think it was her thriller and horror or something recommendations video, but she actually took her old footage and then updated it with her new recommendations. So she actually combined the 2 videos, which I thought was a kind of a clever way of doing that.
I know you suggested that I do that for my recommendation videos before, but no, I didn't do that. That's actually the only video of hers recently I haven't watched was the horror one, because I was like, okay, well, your top horror recommendations, I don't care. I'm not going
to. I wasn't watching it. I just watch her videos. I don't watch it for the necessarily.
Yeah. And I do usually, because our reading taste is basically no overlap at all, right? Yeah. So I just watched because I like her videos, but I didn't watch that one for whatever reason.
I found it really interesting because she also went. I mean, I think the video was only like 12 months old. But she also wore the same outfit. So it was just her hairstyle and things that were different, which was really fun.
That is
like, as a clever way about like updating a video without having to do all of it again or refer back to the previous video. Like, I mean.
Yes, I agree. It is. It also, different type of work, I guess, than we filmed all of it. But good stuff. When I am trying to do a lot of videos, or I guess the best way I've always had to do multiple videos is I will have it split up between what I have read in the past that month, the recommendation, for things I've already read, things that I am reading, obviously, a vlog, a current wrap up, whatever, and things that I want to read or want to find. So KU TBR, fantasy TBR, romantasy TBR. Even though I don't do TBRs, it's like this is what's on my radar. And then also, obviously, I do a lot of discussion type videos where it's like you don't have to have read a single solitary book.
No,
we'll do a discussion video.
No. Yeah, and
right.
Look, I filmed a couple of things this morning, and because I haven't been feeling fantastic, I got to the end of the second one. I went, I cannot physically do another one. This is not happening. Maybe tomorrow. They were for my kids' channel, but I've got a little bit of that sort of already pre-filmed earlier in advance. Because that's the other thing. Like I say, I post 2 videos a week, but I'm technically posting something like 4.
Right. Yeah.
2 for this channel, which is harder.
Obviously, your kid ones are always really short, which helps, but it's still added on to this channel's workload for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I know I was telling you before we went live, my main ideas right now are all based on romantasy, which I'm not a romantasy channel, like exclusively or even primarily, I would say. But they're all based on that. So I was watching Becca and the books, whatever her channel name is. I'm sure everyone is familiar. I've been watching her romantasy vlog series as she like samples it, and I was like, you know what? I love how quickly this video series came out. The installments were kind of back to back to back, and it was actually really nice instead of having it once a month or a year-long project of once a month. It was nice to have it like every single week and be done basically already. But it got me thinking. Obviously, we've done series like that before where it was quick, but I don't know. It's been a minute, and so it struck me.
Yeah.
But I was thinking about it because I love fantasy romance, right? When they are my favorite books, they're my favorite books. When I absolutely love one, it's going on my best of the year list and it's going pretty high, right? And that has always been pretty consistent. But also, I've been struggling to find ones that I really like. And I don't enjoy reading a 2 or 3 star 600-page romantasy.
Yeah.
I just don't. So I've been thinking, what if I was thinking specifically, like, what if my problem is that I keep ignoring those super popular books?
Hmm.
Because I was like, because you know me, I'm usually reading random things.
Hmm.
But I was like, what if all the good ones are the really popular ones?
Yeah.
So I was thinking about doing like a comparison kind of between the really popular ones and more obscure ones. And I was thinking about either doing like specific episodes that are popular and ones, never
Hmm.
heard of, or combining them kind of like the do or die where it's like one of each, that type
Yeah.
of thing. But then I was also thinking about tier ranking all the
Yep.
fantasy romance books I've ever read. And then I was also thinking about all, because right now I'm reading one and it's doing one of my least favorite things where she's brand new to the society in this world, and his way of helping her is giving her space. So she's isolated and not talking to anyone, and
Fun.
there's no communication or any. I'm just like, this is so dumb right now. I hate it here. I don't understand why anyone does this. So then I was like, well, what if I did things I love in romantasy and things I hate in romantasy? So you
Yeah.
see where I'm going. I explained that's
Yeah.
like
A little series.
romantasy videos.
Yeah. And
I
I
need
one
that.
of one of the like I just did general ideas that could sort of be adapted to a lot of things. One of them was overhyped versus underhyped. And you could do
Yeah.
that in any way. It could be one of each book. It could be an author who writes, it doesn't have to be romantasy, but it could be an author, their hyped book and one that isn't
Right.
so hyped, and which one do you
Right.
prefer, and things like that.
Well, I know I've done that recommendation
Yeah.
video, my favorite authors, most
Yeah.
popular books versus my favorite books.
Yeah, I remember.
The problem with that for me is always generally, I don't wanna read the super popular
Yeah.
comparison, and we all know I'm not gonna read it if I don't wanna read it.
Yeah. And it's funny you say that because, like, I'm not a romantasy reader, although I do want to read The Crimson Moth, although I can't. It's got a different name. It's the Kristen Sigarelli book.
The Heartless Hunter?
Is that? Yeah, it's got a different title in the US. It's The
Yeah.
Crimson Moth in the Commonwealth.
Okay. I think it might be that because I think that's like what the main character's persona is.
Yeah. So like that one I'm intrigued by, and I kind of part of me is like, do I just do something around romantasy just to see if I can find something that I like in the genre? I mean, there are things that I like in
Right.
the genre, but
Right.
generally it's not the popular ones. Oh, thanks, Shay.
Yeah, I know. Well, and two, I was thinking about how, we both like the T. Kingfisher, the Sam Steel series and everything, but I feel like that is an outlier in the subgenre, especially right now. I feel like and this is another thing another part of the video. I feel like the romantasy subgenre specifically is one where you have very copy and paste, written to trope, written to, you know, and it just feels like so many of them are you could substitute either one, right? You could substitute either series or either
Yeah.
book or title, and just very similar and
Yeah.
not a lot of, not even just, like, uniqueness, or because I don't care if something has never been done before, right? That's not necessarily what I'm looking for. If you give me the trope that I like and you're doing it great, I'm having a wonderful time. It does not matter if you just went down the checklist of everything I would expect from that trope, right?
Yeah.
Um, but I don't know. It feels like a very copy and paste subgenre. And obviously that's not fair to everyone. That's not fair to all of the authors. We're
But
gonna
it is what's picked up and I suppose becomes popular because
yeah.
people will post the things that they like, and if they like
Yeah,
something, they're going to see it in other
too.
things.
I also feel like it is one of the top, I would say, romance subgenres that doesn't do what romance does so well. What romance does so well is characters, right? Making you care about the character, making you care about the character caring about this other person. Like, if you don't care about the characters at all, the romance isn't going to be a hit for you. Like, romance is not as much about the plot as a lot of other genres. It's very character driven. And I feel like a lot of fantasy romances and a lot of romanticities substitute adding in the fantasy plot and don't don't have the character.
Well, like romance and fantasy as their own genres have very specific like
Yes.
rules and expectations. So when you blend them together, you have to be able to blend both of them, which Heather incidentally sounds like a topic for a video that you should talk about how romance work.
I feel like they're taking the worst from both genres. It's like, all right, we're gonna have the first 70% of the book be slow and nothing is going to happen, but these two are going to be lusting after each other like you have never seen before, but they are not going to communicate in any way. Like, we will not be talking to each other. We will not be doing that. Nothing happens. And then the final bit, we're going to do some major cliffhanger, plot twist. Surprise, he was the vigilante all along and the shadow prince. And
Yeah.
like,
which like one of the ideas I'd written down, I mean, aside from the fact that you could do a whole video discussing, the expectations that you would hope to see in a romantasy, but would be books you want to see written or how you'd like to see them written as well. Like,
yeah,
what beats do you want it to hit? Because we know, as romance readers, we know what we expect from a good quality romance. I used to read high fantasy. That was one of the first genres that I read as a teen.
yeah,
So I know what you expect from a fan. And I suppose in a lot of ways, it's probably why the Saint of Steel series works for me, is because to me, it reads more historical fantasy with a romance as opposed to a romance book that has fantasy in it.
yeah. Well, the Saint of Steel, I feel like that's very character driven,
Yeah.
right?
You
Like,
can have character-driven fantasy. But you have to be able to
right.
write it.
And there's a definite plot. You've got murder mystery, you've got like all of this weird kind of horror-esque stuff happening. You've got everything with the temple happening, which, you have unique to each book and also woven throughout the series as it continues. So you've got a lot going on besides the romance and the characters themselves. But, like, again, it's like the skill of being able to write dialogue and humor and the inner monologue in a way that I'm having fun being in your head, even when you're an annoying character, even when you're
Yeah.
like, having a martyr complex or whatever. I'm still having fun because the author is actually able to pull that off.
Yeah. Like sometimes I think being able to talk about the difference in the subgenres, because to me fantasy romance is different to romantasy, and I know that it's not. I know that's not the widely accepted thing, but you have romance, you have fantasy romance, and you have romantasy, because I think romantasy is doing something different than what it used to, than perhaps what fantasy romance used to be.
Right.
Because I think it's the more mass appeal, popular. It's appealing to.
Is it rude to say romantasy is Sarah J. Maas knockoffs?
No, I think that's
in a
accurate.
lot of ways, it's just winged fae, shadow daddy, assassin.
Mm. And
You
there are some good ones. Like
Sure.
no shade on the subgenre. I think there are different ones, but I think the audience that they're appealing to are a different audience than perhaps what
Yes.
we had 5, 6 years ago when you were talking about fantasy romance.
Yeah. I also feel like sometimes with romantasy, I'm sorry, this is not romantasy live. As a matter of fact, one of
She
the
has one planned.
things I have planned is a romantasy live.
Don't
Which
worry,
is
we won't stay here because I don't have that much to comment on it.
which is not what this is supposed to be. But I do feel like, again, there's a real lack of character and dialogue. It
Mm.
is just spice and which I do not care where your sex scenes fall in the book. I don't mind if you have a sex scene in the very first chapter. I don't mind if it takes a couple books to get there. I care about if the characters are doing anything that makes me believe that they want to be together and should be together. So it's either spice with no other reason for them to be together at all whatsoever, right? It's just we are hot and we are hot together. And look at us go. I cannot stand it. It literally drives me nuts. Or it's we cannot possibly be together. We hate each other, and you're even going to get a whisper of mutual attraction until book 6. And I don't like
That's
that
what I
either.
was gonna say. Like I don't wanna wait multiple books for anything to come to fruition with a couple. If it's a romance book,
Right.
there should be some kind of
I
reason why
need
you wanna be reading this book.
conversations. Truly, that is what I need from any couple that I'm going to be rooting for is conversations. I need that so much more than I need angst or yearning or spice or insta-lust or any other aspect of it. I need conversations. That's all I
Heather,
need.
that's a video called "What I Need in My Romance Books."
Ugh, all right. Good point. Good point.
See, I can keep us on track, sort of.
What I need in romance books.
Because the other thing, and we've talked about this a lot, you and I, is that you don't need to read a lot of books to make content. A lot of it can just be discussions around what's actually happening within your book world sphere, no matter whether it's romance or whatever genre.
Yeah.
Because I have a real issue. Like I film a lot of videos that I don't ever upload, and a lot of them are videos that would probably be construed as negative videos because I don't like filming them. I have a lot of opinions, but I don't like filming them, and I don't like editing them, and I hate uploading them because that's not what I like to
Yeah.
post. And I mean, there was one that what was it? It was bookish things that I don't understand. And I filmed
Yeah.
it and I went, I actually can't post this because this is just me being ridiculous. And it's not, but it also is. But one that I'm currently just thinking about is I don't know what to call it, but it's kind of what to do when an author that you like is problematic.
Yeah.
Because like it's I mean,
Okay.
there's a lot of that going on at the moment.
I
And I'm not sure.
have this I don't know how I would talk about this, right, without
Yeah,
getting canceled myself, which is
yeah,
always a possibility. But I feel like we are becoming more and more 2 different sides of the bookish internet.
yeah.
One is like a tyrannical purity, everything must be perfect, everything must be above board, it has to be, you have to not be politically correct, but you need to be politically correct. You need to have never done or said or thought anything problematic. You need to, if you're an author, you need to be extremely active on social media, letting us know where you stand on every issue. And you need to be obviously in the correct camp on every issue. Because somehow all of this pissed me off. This pissed me off so much. I saw some rando, I don't know them, on Twitter, and it was a list of problematic authors, and it was like every single author just said Zionist on it, which again, free Palestine, fuck Israel. I'm with you. I'm not on the opposite side. I'm with you. We're in the same camp. And Neil Gaiman for sexual assault. And I was like, what are you talking about? That's not the same list. I'm sorry. You can't have it be the same list, especially when a lot of these are like hearsay and, you know.
No, and like what got me thinking about this, I suppose, is probably more the Juliet Cross thing at the moment.
Sure.
Because I think, and it's not that she's done something that's truly heinous, horrible, must cancel. It's a severe marketing issue, and I think it's a really misguided.
It's a questionable decision.
It's a questionable decision. But the thing is, like, for me, that's like, I quite like her earlier books, and I know not everyone did, and that's fine.
Yeah.
But should I then have to go and defend the fact that I enjoyed those books in the past when she wrote them before this happened? My choice now as a reviewer is, do I continue to recommend her moving forward? And the answer to that is probably not.
For sure.
And that's where I kind of want that discussion to be.
My whole thing is I never go back and edit anything. I don't delete videos. I don't change ratings on books. I don't change my review. If you go to my Goodreads right now, you will see many a 5-star book that you have not heard me talk about on this channel ever, or in the last, I don't know, 4 years, 5 years, right? Well, the channel's 5 years old, so let's say 4 years. Like there's lots of them. And there's lots that things have come out about the authors or what have you. I'm not going back and editing that.
No, and you shouldn't. And this is the thing. I don't think you should have to. I think if someone calls you on an old video, you can have a discussion with them.
Right.
But of course, we know that that's not how people on the internet work.
Well,
but at the same time, I feel like saying, okay, particularly, and I hate to bring it up, but let's go with she who shall not be named.
Right.
If you continue to talk about her, you are making an active choice. Whereas if you just go, okay, you know what? I love those books. I'm going to keep reading them for myself, but I'm not going to talk about them on the internet.
Right.
That's a better choice.
Right.
Because the thing is, if you own those, like if you own those books or you own things by those authors, whatever, you've already, like, that's happened. That's already been done. You can't change the fact that you have put money in it. Like,
also, I think for me too, and again, I think this goes because the opposite side, right, is people who never want to talk about how a book is problematic, how an author is problematic. Cancel culture is the devil. It's fine to have different political views. You know, like there's a whole section of the bookish online community that are very conservative, are, you know, whatever. And you know, like they don't ever want to have those conversations and are offended that they even exist, right? And I'm just like, okay, but I don't want to be in either one of those camps. And even more specifically with the, like, everything needs to be pure and above reproach. I don't like the idea of rewriting history. I don't like acting like I didn't enjoy Sarah J. Maas books just because I no longer choose to promote her on my channel, right? I'm not trying to pretend like that book was a 1-star. You know what I mean? And I think some people are. I think some people are rewriting history where it's like, I knew 7 years ago that this was a problem. And it's like, I don't think you did. Some of the things, sure. Racism is not something that is brand new or has been eradicated or any of the things in the last 5 years. There are plenty of people that, you know, if you went back 100 years ago, they would tell you, yeah, racism is the devil. It's literally the worst thing in society, right? So it's not like we didn't know any better back then, but there are some things you didn't know any better because that person hadn't come out problematic yet.
And I think that's like it as a discussion point. I think that's interesting in the community that we're in, and I also think we're all human, And for a lot of these authors, you may not know what's happened. Like there's some that are really big and have blown
Mhm.
up, and I think that not knowing about that is a bit of putting your head in the sand. But there's other ones where if you are not paying attention, you might miss something.
Oh, for sure.
And that's fine. We're all human beings, and it's what you do after the fact, I suppose. That's interesting. But anyway, I've diverted the conversation again, as we tend to do.
This is what the people signed up for. I don't know if they knew that this is what they signed up for, but
This is what happens. But I have a video suggestion, Heather, that I don't know. I wouldn't do it, but I don't know. You might. So, books I'm convinced people are lying about liking.
I actually have this as an opposite idea where it's reviews I would give if I lied about books.
I love that.
I've never like fully committed to it though, or thought long enough about it, about which books I would say what things about. But
yeah.
Because there are some books, I swear to God, I'm 1,000% sure everybody who likes it is lying. Like, there's no way. There's no way this is the best book you've read this year. I do not believe you.
Yeah. And the other one was my friends' favorite books that make me question their reading taste.
You're gonna have people thinking I'm mean again. See, this is the problem. This is why we're friends, because we think the same way, but then I'm the only one that posts anything. And people think I'm a bully. It's fine. It's been a minute since someone accused me of being a bully. I think the last time that happened maybe was when I did the video about not liking the Goodreads Choice Awards content. Yeah. And that I felt like that was a very self-explanatory video. I don't enjoy watching this. I'm having fun complaining about it for 6 minutes. It's totally fine. I had like a small handful of people telling me how they were unsubscribing. How dare I say this about creators who spend their blood, sweat, and tears making videos for me, you know, that type of thing. And I was like, all right, well, I guess I'm overdue, but I'm not sure this is the hill I'd be dying on, but okay. Whatever works for you.
Yep. Two others that I had that were kind of similar were like books I wish I'd read before now, and also books I wish I'd read before, but now I won't read them anymore.
Yes. Like, that's a good idea. This is why you're here.
Yes. As I said, I came with the list. Not that it's easy to read, but I came with the list. Because I think it's really interesting because it would have been on a TBR if I'd read it 5 years ago, but I wouldn't touch it with a 10-foot pole now. And here's why.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing for me a lot of times is I want to have read that book, but I just don't want to read it. I don't feel like reading it. I'm not ever going to want to spend the multiple days. It's usually long fantasy or things like that.
Yeah. The top of the list of things that I forced everyone to read is the one that made everyone cry. And everyone gave it 5 stars.
You're not wrong. You know what cracks me up?
My hill I will die on. I will make everyone read that book at some point.
It cracks me up that in the Trust or Trash episode, that's not even when I read The Story of Us, and yet every book in the blog made me cry. Mm-hmm. That was great. And I don't even like associate you with like really, I mean, besides the rest of the story, I don't associate you with extremely emotional.
I have come to just acknowledge for myself that what I do like are books that make you feel something. It doesn't matter whether it's happy or sad. It is a strong emotion. So you're not sitting in the middle. If it does that, it's probably sitting in a 4.5 above star rating book.
Yeah.
Because that's the sign of good writing.
Right. I know there's like some Courtney Milan books that I've never recommended, I don't think really, except maybe once. But that got 5 stars for me, and I talked about, like, how great they were in my wrap up. I was like, but, devastated me, and I will never be reading or recommending it again. But
Yeah.
it's like a book like that, it's never getting a 3-star for me because the quality puts it up, even if it's not my taste or what I would necessarily want to pick up again for myself. The quality is there, and I'm not dinging the quality in my rating. Oh,
I-
okay, another one that I wanna do, and I wanna do this as maybe a discussion video and a live discussion, not 100% sure, is, um, maybe, like, the ethics of reviewing books or rating books, and I think a lot of people because, anything that is, like, a book that involves maybe BIPOC characters or themes of race or queer identity or whatever, a lot of times you'll have people giving those really low ratings. And a lot of those people do tend to be racist or homophobic or what have you. Of course, that's not what they say in the review, but that is the reason for the low rating. It is. So then you have a lot of other people who will read those books and maybe those books are not their favorite but because of the representation or because of the diversity or just the fact that they know other people will give it a low star, they will not give it a low star. Yes,
yeah.
I just couldn't connect. Classic.
Yeah.
Right.
And you know what? I think I've been guilty of using that line, but what I've come to realize is all of like my ratings and the way that I view books, it does come down 100% to the way that I connect with the book in terms of the emotional connection to it. So if
Yeah,
it doesn't do that, then that's when that comes into play for me
for sure.
because that connection is important to me. And I hate when it's a diverse author because I'm like, I really hate not being able to rate that highly. But what it hasn't done is it hasn't done that connection for me. But
Right.
I know what you're talking about. And when
Okay.
you're just doing it because
Oh, yes. So there are a lot of people that won't give it a low rating at all, right? But then in my head, all right, then in my head, I'm like, okay, but let's say just black authors, right? You cannot treat black authors like children who get a gold star for effort either, because that's also not great and not good. And of course is better or I think important, and I know that, sometimes reviewers have been ostracized for this, but reviewers in the same community, same representation, all of that, as the author and the characters, um, they will give a book middle of the road rating, right? Because they didn't love it. They had some issues with the writing or the kink or, what have you. And then people will be like, well, you can't do that because that's not supporting these authors or that's not supporting the community. And it's like, okay, but not all of the books are going to be 5 stars. And simply saying, hey, this is 3 stars. I didn't love the character development in this is not a crime, which is why I think it would be an interesting live discussion.
yeah,
Because I am interested in, and again, like the ethics of ratings. Do you have, different standards? Do you have different things that you want to do? Because again, like, obviously, I think if you're making any effort to read diversely or read a specific representation or wanting to see yourself represented in a book, you're wanting to find ones that you love and that you can rave about and that you can help promote. That's
yeah,
the idea.
absolutely.
Um, but I just think it's interesting.
Yeah. And I think like from a reviewer's perspective, and this was something that was going in one of the videos that that I filmed but never edited or uploaded and just deleted, is that whole idea of like what do we owe a book once we've
Mhm.
read it. And the thing is, like, if you've purchased the book or you've borrowed it or whatever, you've read the book. Like, you don't actually owe that book anything after you've read it.
Right.
What you feel about that book has to come down to, like what you're saying, what is your reviewing rating style? And are you comfortable with that, regardless of who the author is or whatever it is? Like, whatever your criteria is, and you review that book,
Mhm.
you don't owe something a 5-star because you think that you need to give it a 5-star.
Right.
Like, you've already
Well,
supported the author in some way.
and I've thought about this before, but I think what brought it back up was the Rena Kent stuff. I don't know if you saw
Yeah,
that, but there was a TikToker, a reviewer that was mutuals with her and, absolutely loved her books, had all the books, has a tattoo of the series and everything, and gave an arc a middle of the road. This wasn't my favorite
yeah,
rating and review, and Rena Kent blocked her and
yeah,
unfollowed and everything like that. Like, so again, it's not something specific to representation or identity or anything like that.
right,
It's just one of those things that
right,
I think does factor into people's ratings. And the other, um, oh, there was something that Ramen said that made me think
yeah.
of
Well,
another
because I
point.
was watching the early release of Romancelandia, and Izzy was talking about it, and it all comes. And I know we have this conversation all the time, authors in reviewer spaces and whatever, but also reviewers being mindful of the fact that if you are mutuals with an author, you like you don't owe the author anything in terms of your review. I firmly believe that. Like, that's
Yeah,
your reading experience is your own. But
right.
you have to consider what that means if you are posting that and you are also trying to be friends with an author.
Yeah,
That's your line. You don't have to not post it, but you have to understand that there are things that are going to happen as a result of that. And also, authors have to remember what position they're putting themselves in by putting themselves in that position.
right,
So,
right.
like, it's like that. It's a messy space. It shouldn't be, but it is.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those things I think that is solved if everyone involved is emotionally mature about
Yeah.
it. But that's too much
You're
to
not
ask.
asking for much, Heather. You're not asking for much. Just
Okay. Anyways, for
yeah,
May, I have scheduled the It's About the Vibes video that I had postponed, which Steph already knows all about this, but I'll tell the rest of you people. And you're welcome to steal or what do I want?
yeah,
Build off of, spin off and any ideas we talk about, right? That's the point. Um, but I have seen people get in hot water maybe and sometimes not for recommending books that have absolutely nothing in common. Like obviously the sequel to Fourth Wing came out this year. A lot of people view her as a problematic author. A lot of people view her as their favorite author, right? So again, you kind of have two sides of the bookish internet. How is anyone still reading this? How is anyone still posting this? And everyone else on the other side being like, it's, Onyx Storm Day or whatever it was. But I saw someone posting like, instead of Fourth Wing, you should be reading the Poppy War, which is
all
like
that.
not the same. And obviously, there are some people who enjoy reading both of those types of books, but there are a lot of people who only enjoy one or the other and are not going to be happy having one of those recommendations substituted for the other one. And I also have talked about this before where I find it so annoying when the recommendations for a book are just other books in the same genre or subgenre and have nothing actually in common. And specifically, again, for me, it's about the vibes. I don't need necessarily another assassin book. I need if I enjoyed one with an assassin, I need another one with a similar dynamic. I need another one with a similar feeling to it. And again, for me, that's almost always going to be the characters. But just because they're both fantasy romances doesn't make them good recommendations for the same reader. They're
Yeah.
not. And I feel like this is self-explanatory. I don't feel like a video needs to be made about this. I feel like we all know this. But then I came to the interwebs of the bookish internet, and I found out that not everybody knows this. And as a matter of fact, many of you need to explain to you. So I might do it.
I'd like you to do that one. It's also kind of like if you want to do recommendations, books that best did X, insert trope here. Like
Yeah.
which one? Or micro trope or feeling or whatever, like similar to that.
That's a good idea because I feel like I'm always kind of looking for different ways to do a recommendation video in a different way with the books I already have.
Yeah. Like this one doesn't require any books, and it's not even my idea because it's a tag video. But Sam and Marinas did the Get to Know My Taste tag, and I did that one. It was actually really that one was a really interesting one to film as someone who reviews books. Like it was a really interesting one.
Thought we were muting that. Just kidding.
No, sorry, that was my phone. That was my text messages, not anything else.
I'm just kidding. I know you well enough. I know it was your phone.
Yeah.
I actually do think I'm going to do a vlog of The Night and the Moth by Rachel Gillig. I think I'm going to do a vlog of that because I think I've given up and I think I'm going to pre-order it and read it on release day.
Excited.
And I usually just kind of like the video you posted yesterday. I don't usually post standalone vlogs or anything for a single book. But every once in a while it's just like, I'm really excited about this book. I would like to.
And you know what? It was so low stakes. I had absolutely nothing. I'm like, screw this. This is what I'm doing.
Right. Good choice.
Another idea I had was stealing my friend's TBR.
I could never. Because you know why? Because you bitches don't have good taste. Okay. You're like,
how dare you?
I see everybody's TBRs. I'm like, absolutely not. Absolutely not.
How dare you?
And then, especially if you're Izzy or Shay or Robin, actually, many people, not you, Steph, you actually read the books. So many of them are like books that I've been screaming about for months, and they just are. This is Izzy. Every KU check-in, I'm in the middle of last night. I'm going to read it someday. Yeah, okay. And then there was also Demon's Dream. I swear that was in her KU checkouts for like 15 months. Did she read it? I don't think so. I'm not sure that she did. I'm pretty sure she just quietly deleted it and was like, I'll come back.
I mean, look, the next idea you probably shouldn't film because that would be shots fired across the bookish community, but it would be Beware the Romantasy Girls.
Yeah. Yeah.
But man, that would be funny.
I mean, okay. I have so many things to say about romantasy. It's actually a problem.
You've literally got a whole series.
I do. But how many people am I going to piss off with this series? A few too many, I fear. A few too many.
You'll be fine.
Mm-hmm. I'll believe it when I see it, Izzy. I will believe it when it's posted.
Not literally. I didn't come up with all of these ideas just for you, Heather. I came up with them for anyone who's watching this video. But I don't know. Maybe you could run with this one. Is book title poetry, coming up with weird little poems based off titles using titles of books.
That's fun. I feel like you're the one that should do that, though. You're the one. Didn't you have like a haiku a day or something like that? If I even said that
I lasted
correctly.
like 10 days, but yeah, I did.
10 days. That sounds like a you thing. I
Um,
saw you mention Mafia May, and I was like, I could do that. Am I? No, but
I don't think I've got any mafia books I want to read. Like I'm very selective in my mafia
here's the
romances.
thing. I either delete them or DNF them over and over and over and over again. I love Mafia romance. Everybody knows this. It's so hard to find new ones that I like because
But you know, when it's a subgenre that you like, the genre of romance or subgenre of romance that I DNF the most books in is hockey romance
right,
because
right.
I love it, but I'm so picky about it because I know what I like
Right.
within the books.
I also feel like I will DNF more of tropes and subgenres and stuff where it's like, yeah, it's my favorite. So like pretty much every time I hear about it, I'm gonna add it to my TBR and I'm gonna test it out. And a lot of them are not going to work. But just by virtue of me being more interested in it, there are more failures that I'm trying.
Yeah. Another pair of sort of inverse video ideas. Why are they so long and why are they so short?
This is another thing that ticked me off, like, just yesterday. I saw
I'm
yet
triggering that.
another yeah, and I get it. I do, to a certain extent, agree. I understand, but I despise the videos that are no romance book should be over 400 pages. Should this many of them be over 400 pages? No. No, they shouldn't. 230, 250, great stage. 350 if you're pushing it. That's a great page count for a romance book. It is. However, there are incredible, amazing, fantastic, all-time favorite romance books that are over 400 pages. And it is just as worthy as any other genre of the page count. It
Yeah.
is. When it is done well, it is done so well. When it is my favorite characters that I would die for, yes, I will read another 200 pages of them. Yes, yes, I will. But
But
so
that
many
that's and
of
that's
them, like, are not deserving of the page count because it's like, literally, have you ever seen an editor? There's this one, I swear, I think I saw this on Twitter or something. I don't remember the source of this, but somebody once said about an author, she's never seen a sentence she didn't like. And so she just included all of them, edited absolutely nothing out.
yeah,
And that's true for like a lot of books. A lot of books.
yeah,
You could cut 150 pages and your book would not be missing anything and it would be better.
yeah. Yeah, the qualifier there being
I mean, I've done long romance recommendations
yeah, when
before.
it's done well, long romance books are great. When they're not done well, it's a nightmare.
Other thing that has been really annoying me lately, and that's lately being a relative term, is whenever I see, and there are creators that I like that do this, so like, it's not shots fired on them. But whenever I see a romance recommendation video that is romance books that are actually worth reading or actually good, I get so angry. I'm just like,
Well, that's
I
subjective.
I won't watch on principle. I won't watch. Your books might be great, but you know what? No. Oh,
I've
it
got
makes me
books I
so
love and
mad.
you should too.
I mean, yeah, I feel like that's my whole channel though. And you know what? Too many of you don't listen.
Excuse you.
Not you, everybody else. Uh,
Um,
I do
guessing
hate you.
guessing the book
Yeah.
synopsis based off the front cover.
Yes, okay, see, I wanna do that. What do you think? Do you think that that would be better as an edited video, as a collab, or as a group live?
I mean, it would be funnier live, but we'd have to find a whole lot of books that we'd probably all have to come up with books and make sure that, yeah, you
Yeah.
don't know what they are. It's okay,
I
Izzy.
mean, you're currently watching the video of my my current bookish gripes, apparently.
Interspersed with random ideas. Oh, I'm just gonna
It's
turn that off.
Izzy, Shay, Megan, other Megan, Robin, a few of you that I will not name that watch a lot of things. And every once in a while you're like, "Oh, that is on my TBR." And I'm like, "All right, well, I know for a fact it's been on there for 7 months because 7 months ago is when I told you it was the best thing I've ever read. And if you really believed me, you would have read it by now."
So is this a good segue into the idea of bookish things that I hate with a burning passion?
Everything apparently, anything that involves people and their opinions. Right,
Um,
yeah, no. No, no, no. You might be a ringleader, but you are not alone. Yes, Robin, you've been very busy, and you know what you haven't read? A Love Most Fatal, as we all know.
I thought you had read it.
Robin did it. She put it on her TBR,
Oh,
and then she put it on her TBR again, I think.
I could have sworn Robin read it. Anyway, okay.
Yeah, no. Lies. I don't think Izzy's read it either. I'm pretty sure you're the only one that has, matter of fact, which is why you're my favorite and why you get to be on the screen and they don't.
You know, do you know what it was? It was because I'd asked both of you, it was you and Robin, for a subgenre for the 52 book challenge because I used it for
Oh,
someone
yeah,
to
yeah, yeah.
read.
I know, Robin was just going in bad faith. She was like, "Heather loves this one, it's probably good." Okay, just okay, I'm glad it's
Good.
on your TBR, but
It is good.
it is, it
Um,
is fun. More people need to read it. Let this be a lesson to all of you. You should read Love Most Fatal by Kath Richards. If you've ever cared about me or anything I've ever said.
I will back that. It's one of my favorite books of the year so far. So
It's really just delightful. And
yeah,
again, it's one of those things where, like, she wrote the couple so well that it's just really enjoyable if the synopsis or the premise appeals to you at all. It's
yeah,
really well done, which is what we need more of.
yeah.
Alright, moving on with our lives and trying to give you people the content ideas that you came
Life
for.
lessons. Um, I mean, you can always do like debut authors you're interested in, authors backlist that you're interested in. Like
You know
those
what?
ones.
I was seriously thinking about doing another live TBR, like, in the beginning of July. I thought maybe I should do it more often, I don't know, of everything on my TBR because I have a lot of turnover on my TBR. There are a lot of things that go on my TBR that nobody ever hears about, so I just ended up deleting it. Or also, they just don't last a long time, so there would be very little overlap with the one that I did just, at the end of December, and I
Yeah.
think people might be interested in that. Hi, Laura.
Hello. Um, one that's kind of going around, but I don't not like it. I quite like it is the unhinged romance recommendations because I think you can take unhinged in any direction that you like.
Okay, yeah. I'm literally trying to think about what I would recommend for that.
I know I need to read a few more at the moment because I haven't. I don't think I've read anything that I would consider unhinged recently, but I have in the past. A lot of those would probably fall into either the monster romance recommendations or Probably even some of the assassin romance.
I read an insane one last week, but it got 1 star. It's a recommendation.
You do
Ugh.
like books, I think I would give 1 star. You don't have to read them. You say, "Yeah, this sounds like something I'd give 1 star."
You're right. Because I'm always not always, every time it comes up, I'm, like, telling everyone how great I know my reading taste. How good I am.
And this is the thing, I mean, I track all of my I mean, I don't give people all of my ratings, but I track them. And I would say that it is very rare for me to give a book a 1 star because I've either DNF'd it or I didn't read it in the first place. 2 stars, yes, because sometimes something starts out strong and then it just nosedives in the last little bit of the book. Yeah, books you can pay me to read.
The spin-off series of books you could pay me to read.
Yes.
If you gave me money, sure.
It's like my Goodreads TBR shelf. That's books I will never read.
Yeah, that's a good idea, Robin.
Yeah.
Things you love but gave low star. And you know what, too? That might be an entertaining video because I would have, a lot of feelings. I would have a lot of feelings about it. I need my phone.
I could do book recommendations with food and drink pairings. I don't know. There was a podcast that I used to follow, which was they did different drink pairings with books. So, like, read this book and maybe I think they actually did wine and cocktails and things like that. And it was kind of fun.
Ray
have
from
to
Bookmark Chronicles has done that.
Oh, has she? Oh, yeah, she has too. Yeah.
She had that subscription box or something like that, something where she was sampling different ones. So the ones, she didn't like got books that she didn't like, but she had reasons for everything. What I was thinking though, while you were saying that, was that might work well as a vlog style thing, but one where actually kind of like what Kayla from Books and Lala just did with the I've been thinking a lot about this video for some reason. She just did that video about reading like no one was watching, right?
Yeah.
And you had all these different vlog clips interspersed, but everything came back to the one filming session. Like she started the vlog sitting there, then in between the clips, she'd be sitting there, and then that was how it ended with, and this is what the project, like the conclusion of the project, takeaways, all of that. And I really liked that for some reason. Again, it's not that different from anything else, but I was like, whoa.
No, that was really interesting.
Like that would be good for that because you could just sit down and do the recommendation video, right? But then, through those couple weeks or whatever, you could have clips of making the food, making the drink, etc., and have it slotted into the recommendation for that book. That could be fun.
Or, making food from the books that you're reading or featuring books.
I feel like we need to get Bree from Lockbooktition to make that too.
Yeah, she was who I was thinking of.
Dude, you know how? Okay, so Bree made that vlog making the sandwich, right? And then you did the try chapter making the sandwich and the tea from Bree's vlog. Mind you, I had watched Bree's vlog and was like, oh, now I'm hungry. Now I want the sandwich. Like, I don't even like half the things on the sandwich, but now I want the sandwich. And then you did it to me again. And then Bree posted, I think it was like the next day or something, but I was watching them like close together. She posted the vlog where she cut her hair and I had a lot of food stuff in it. And just based on the thumbnail, I didn't even start watching the video yet, but I commented, this was on the first upload because I'm actually recent she figured out that the whole vlog wasn't there because I was like, wait a second. I was like, why did we cut off here? We don't even get like a plant reveal or anything. Like we just are gone. What was I saying? But I commented, I cannot watch this right now. I'm hungry. I can't do it. I've already learned my lesson. I just watched your video based on her video. So it happened to me twice already. I'm like, can't do it.
But
Can't do
see,
it right now.
the weird thing about my video is I filmed that literally one day after Brie uploaded her video.
I know.
And that was a month ago. Because the try chapter videos, I'm always filmed a month in advance.
Didn't you post a Instagram story or something about watching it and being hungry?
I did. Yeah, I did.
Yeah. So I knew you watched it at the time of uploading.
Yeah.
Well, so then today I went grocery shopping, and you best believe I bought every ingredient I could want for the world's best sandwich. I'm putting it in a vlog. I'm gonna make you guys hungry too.
No, it's one of those, like a good homemade sandwich is
catchy.
Is great.
Yeah,
it's great.
It is.
You could do a habits of readers video. So what are the habits of?
Have I done that?
I think you've done. I think we've done variations, but I mean that one I think you can always update because it's always changing.
I mean, surely the people want to hear me rant about things I've ranted about before. Surely.
What we're here for.
I got nothing there.
Books I'd take on holiday since you guys are going into summer.
Yeah. Although I hate those videos.
I know.
I do. Actually, I don't know why. There's something. It makes no sense at all. Don't worry about it. But there's something about people.
Sorry, Robin.
Thing about how they would read this on a beach that just annoys me for absolutely no reason.
Yeah. Well, I know Shay's not here because Shay was talking about this in our group chat about planning videos for summer. But one suggestion I did have related to that, which is not about holidays or beaches or things like that, but is summer romance, reading summer romances that are set in different places around the world in their summers.
Yeah, that would be a good one. You would actually have to have those books on your TBR. So that would knock most of us out of the writing. But no, that would
But also, I kind of feel like for Shay, you could almost modify it because Shay tends to read outside romance a little bit more, like I do, in that you could do just summer books set in summer around the world.
Yeah, or you could do that for any season. You could have the seasonal series of it, and that might be fun too.
Yeah, I never did finish my seasonal reading vlogs, did I? I know I did summer.
Oh, was there supposed to be more?
I don't know. I think I originally thought I might do it, but I definitely didn't.
Oh. Well.
Oh, hang on. Was the summer one?
You're in the middle of
Did I do it this year?
Yeah, summer was this year. It was in January, I think.
I don't know what month we're in. I don't know where we are in the year.
You're in the middle of fall, so you aren't too late, technically.
I know, but do I have books? No, I've got too many other vlog projects.
The Jessica Gadziala art would work perfectly for it. It's supposed to have real fall vibes.
The vampire one?
Yeah.
Oh, I just forgot to put that in a video. Oops. Okay.
You're welcome. Let's see.
We'll see if I get to it before the end of autumn.
I want to do a Kate C. Wells author guide. And I feel like more people should do author guides for whichever author you've read all their backlists or have read a bunch. I think that I feel like I tend to like authors that you get the same vibe every time. They're very consistent, but there are some authors where their books are wildly different from each other, and it would be really helpful to know that from someone who has read all of them.
Because I've done Ilona Andrews, I think, and I've done Lillian Lark.
Yes. Have you done Evie Mitchell?
No, and I know you don't have to read every book by the author to do this. I've only got a couple left that I want to do, and then I'll probably do Evie. And then I've only got 3 Taobao books left, and then I'll do Taobao
Yeah.
as well.
I've done Jessica Gaziella and Kristen Ashley, and honestly, those 2 are so prolific. Those were a ton of work.
Yeah.
Casey Wells doesn't have as many different standalones and spin-offs and series and stuff, or books in general, as those 2, so I think she'd be a lot easier.
Yeah.
But then you have authors like Elsie Winters, where to me, you don't need an author guide because everything's the same series, same vibe, all of that. But I think it's a good option for people. Another one that I was interested in doing is the evolution of reading. I think that you could have this 2 different ways. One, the evolution of the community, with Book Talk, with BookTube, with Bookstagram, all of these things, how they've changed. And also, I think you have like this whole conversation, I guess, about the aesthetic of reading, or having reading be your, there's another word that I want and I can't think of what it is, but just the idea of being a reader is what you weave into all of your content and everything, which is kind of obviously what bookish content is. But I think that there are some people that really have done it for the content, and I think that that's interesting as well. And then I also think that you could have your own evolution of reading. Obviously, many of us started in one genre, obviously, and also many of us started as children, or different, seasons of life, different ages, and how your reading just changes over time.
Yeah. I had a really great time doing my reading history video last year.
Yeah, that was a good one. You know what one of my favorite videos that you've ever done, though, is your one about book covers. I thought that
I never got back to finishing
that you made, and the things that you mentioned and drew attention to on book covers, I was like, this is fascinating. This is like so much more than I was literally just expecting you to be like, and this is what I like, and this is what I want more of. And then it was like so detailed and in-depth and thoughtful. And like it was
You're
like
specific about my book covers.
I was like, wait a second, this is professional stuff over here. This is teacher stuff doing in-depth analysis of this, and it was so good.
Well, and I will say this to the day that I die. People say don't judge a book by its cover, but you pay people to design your book covers because it is the first marketing tool that you have in getting your book into the hands of other people. So yes, 100% you can judge a book by its cover, and you should be looking at how you want to present and market your book to the world before you even start talking about it, because the first thing people are going to look at is the cover, because it's the visual.
A great
and even if you are an audiobook listener, or you whatever, the first thing you're going to see is the cover. But I was supposed to do more videos in that series. I never did. So, oops. I'll just add it back to my...
I mean, you can also do video series where it's one installment per year. That's fine.
Did I do illustrated covers, didn't I? It was illustrated covers.
Yeah, well, was it all illustrated covers? Maybe.
Oh, I can't remember. Hang on, I'm going to search. Because I think I had one where I wanted, particularly with romance books, I wanted to talk about photo covers or people on covers.
I don't know. It's one of your best videos, though. If y'all haven't watched it, I don't even know what it's called, but it's Steph talking about book covers, so maybe try searching that.
Oh, it was illustrated covers I like and don't like.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, it was just so good. It's the type of video, honestly, that, like, makes me excited about being on BookTube, because it's just like, oh, I love this. Like,
Mm.
I can listen to videos like this all day long, every day. I love when people do discussions. It doesn't have to be anything controversial. It doesn't have to be, it doesn't have to be anything. It can
Yeah.
literally just be your opinion about some little thing. It doesn't matter. You know what? Actually, now that I'm saying this, maybe I should do more discussion videos about like tropes,
Mm.
not recommendation videos, but just
Discussions about the
discussions
trope. Yeah.
about, what I like or what I don't like, or a twist that maybe I would like to see, a spin that I would like to see somebody
Yeah.
do on something that I already really like.
But even why certain tropes work so well, because like some of the biggest, most popular tropes, there's a reason why they work.
Mhm.
And when you um and you can pull your recommendations in as examples of, okay, well, this is when it's done well and this is when it's not. And what's the difference between the
Right,
two?
right. It's also an easy one to just, put the book cover in the video to
Mm.
illustrate, and this is,
Yeah.
what I'm talking about here, and you don't even have to mention it.
Yeah.
Um, so I'm more curious if people do then take that recommendation and try the book.
Mm. Yeah.
Books I won't
Yeah.
pick up because never I mean,
That's
I'm
my
enthusiast for sure.
that's my entire Ellie Hazelwood, Julie Soto, everything, because aside from the fact that they're marketing it off something I don't like, but the
Right, right.
covers just
Well,
they
that first impression is important, because I know for me too, it doesn't have to be real or logical or important or any of the things. As soon as I think to myself, "I'm not gonna like that," you're not changing my mind. We're never gonna happen.
yeah.
I feel like yeah, I feel like that.
And enemies to lovers is not as common as you would expect, but people seem to say it is.
Oh, it's every single thing where they don't fall at their feet on page 1.
Yeah.
Sometimes they do fall at their feet page 1, and they're still, like, enemies to
Yeah.
lovers.
Sometimes I think enemies is more antagonists to lovers. They just enjoy antagonizing one another. That doesn't make you an enemy. It just makes you annoying.
No, it doesn't. That's like, I just read Not Safe for Work by Nisha J. Tooley. Nisha?
Mm.
Is that the name? I think so. Um But it was rivals to lovers very clearly and very well defined, and it was nice to see that trope not trying to cosplay as enemies to lovers, you know what I mean? It's like the author knew she was writing rivals to lovers, and she very much wrote that, and I like that.
I prefer rivals to lovers. I think it's a better dynamic and it's more believable
Yes.
in any subgenre.
I also particularly do love rivals to allies, especially reluctant allies.
Yeah.
To lovers. Oh, it works so well.
Yeah. Heather knows this. I don't know who else I've talked about it with, but one of my biggest things is I've moved to monthly wrap-ups and it's doing my head in. I can't stand it. I am still doing them, but I have come up with a better way of doing it. So it's actually going to be much shorter this month, because one trend I noticed over the years when I was doing my weekly wrap-ups is in the same week, I would read a lot of things that had really similar things. Either they'd be tropes, sometimes they'd be character names, sometimes they would be the same subgenre or whatever. And so now, as I'm reading similar things, I'm actually putting them into separate little video notes. So I'm going to do mini wrap-ups of things that have something in common. And it's actually, so it still means I can do like a sit-down wrap-up rather than a vlog, because what I'm finding is I'm doing too many vlogs all at once, and that's also driving me a bit nuts. But it also means that when I have other books that are not for anything, that I can just actually dedicate time to them. So it means like my monthly wrap-up is probably only going to have maybe 7-ish books in it, which to me is so much nicer to do as a wrap-up than to try and remember and talk about everything else. Because
Are you still going to mention, like stats or your other?
I'll mention stats, and I'll probably do a graphic that shows everything that I read and then
Mhm.
block out everything that was for projects and then just talk about the books. I've even taken the kids' review titles out. They'll have their own separate video. And I just filmed that one today, and I did kind of preface it with why would I do another video when I'm going to talk about them on my kids' channel? But that's because I've worked with a lot of these publishers for a number of years, and they send things to me based off the platform that I built over on this
Sure.
channel. And so I do feel that I should be talking about them in some way, shape, or form on both Kid Lit Joy. They'll get individual wrap-ups. My channel, they'll just get a really brief collective wrap-up
Right.
with all the kids' titles for a month.
Right.
So,
Well, I also think,
and I
you
review them differently
and
on both channels. So,
right. I think you and Ashley both, though, folding the kid titles into your regular scheduled content, right? Your normal programming, um, is important rather than just separating it
yeah,
out, even though that's really good for people who are there specifically for that, especially parents, teachers, adults looking for resources for children. I like that you have it in with everything else, and I think it's important that you do because it just kind of keeps it in the forefront of other people's minds who maybe wouldn't think of it or wouldn't, have never thought about it or will end up changing their mind because of the content,
yeah,
that it's important and that it's valuable and that, it's not something to just age out of or grow out of or dismiss because of the age of the target audience. I think that's really important and valuable, and I think it's something that, honestly, besides the 2 of you, not very many people are
yeah.
doing.
There's a couple of other channels that do it, which I follow them, but they don't have. But I mean, they don't exist in the same sort of romance sort of booktube sphere that
Yeah.
I do. Um, but it's interesting because it, there's a quote from a really great essay called I've talked about it before, why you should read children's books even though you're so old and wise.
Mhm.
That all children's fiction
Mhm.
is written to be read by anyone. Adult fiction is only read to be written by adults. So
Mm.
there's a very different way of approaching books, I think. So
Yeah. That's another thing that could be folded into the, uh, ethics of reading discussion. I despise when I see adults saying, "Oh, this was absolutely delightful, but because it's for kids, I'm giving it 1 star on Goodreads." Like, what are you talking about? What are you
you
talking about? Do you think it's the 6-year-old rating on Goodreads? You're rating
yeah.
a
I
review
read
for
I
a
read that
6-year-old.
many kids' books that I go, this is it. This is not my thing. This is not what I would prefer to read. And even when I was a kid, I probably wouldn't have preferred to read it. Just the type of reader that I've always been. But it's not written for me. I'm reading it as an adult, looking at who it could be recommended to, not is this the best book for me to read. And I think that's where sometimes people forget that when you're not the target readership, you have to read things in a different way. And also, you I think in Kid Lit, I definitely read far, like I try and read widely in general, but I read far more widely and diversely across kids literature.
Mhm,
One, I think they're doing a slightly better job of it in terms of marketing it,
mhm.
but it's getting it into the hands of the readers and getting it into the right places, particularly in schools, to go, okay, well, these are the books that we need to have available. That's probably controversial.
Right.
Um, but I think they do it really well. And giving it a voice
Mhm.
is important. And it is hard. It's tricky.
It is. But yeah, it's also valuable. And again, like you and Ashley specifically, we're talking about 2 people who your profession
Yeah.
involves working with literature for children. And like that's just a great perspective to have on booktube. It really, really is. Hey, Marissa. You're not late. I've only been here for an hour and 24 minutes.
Don't even get me started on this because I
Yeah.
actually don't want to read steamy YA books. I mean, who
Yeah.
does? It's a YA book. It shouldn't be there. But I want to see more books written for the 13 to sort
Yeah.
of 16, 17-year-old category and I want to see them written specifically for that audience without making it uncomfortable for them because
Yeah.
I have that many people asking me for recommendations for their 13 and 14-year-olds. It's
Right.
like
And
it's
they're
not
like
easy.
fine.
It is not easy finding the right books for those kids.
You know what else? Don't we should not get started on this because we really will be here for forever. But also, you have to remember too, and no one does because we live in a cruel, cruel world. But you have to remember too that a 14-year-old wants to read about a 14-year-old, but a 14-year-old also wants to read about a 17-year-old, right? That's
Yeah.
their immediate future goal, aspirational, age, all of that stuff. And so you have to have 17-year-old protagonists also that are appropriate for the 14-year-old reader,
Yeah.
but that they see their future self in them. You
Yeah.
also obviously have to have a different standard and a different thing that you're writing for if your target audience is 18 or 14. You
Yeah.
have to.
Yeah.
You have to.
I think
And you don't.
I think one of the really good things is sort of one of the publishers that I work with that publishes Australian YA. Like they are really good in terms of they actually don't send me the stuff that's the really upper YA stuff unless it's sort of First Nations authors and things like that I read and they know that I've reviewed before. But like one of the most recent ones I read, Blood Moon Bride, which is not an easy read because it tackles a lot of different topics like genocide and patriarchal society and things like that. But the main character is 15, and
Mhm.
through the lens of a 15-year-old who is faced with a world that is targeting her because she's female and
Right.
is doing ridiculous things. Like I would be comfortable with 14, 15, 16-year-olds reading that book, even though you might technically say, okay, well, maybe it's better for an older audience because they're a little bit more mature. But the fact is you have kids facing those issues
Right.
and it's not based fully around, like, I don't care if younger YA books feature romance, if it's kind of like that first love kind of thing, like that's fine.
Right.
But to find things that don't just solely focus around that, I think is so difficult.
Right. That's the thing. It's not that you're trying to completely take away one type of book. It's just there should be more options than only one type of book for an age range because every age, people are just as diverse in their experiences, their trauma, their emotions, their levels of maturity as any other age.
Yeah.
There's just as much range, although it's different, right? But there's still just as much range between 100 different 14-year-olds as perhaps 100 40-year-olds. Like,
Yeah.
you're going to have different things, different needs, different expectations, all of that, and it you can't you can't have it all be the same. You can't expect everyone to want to read romance. You can't expect everyone to want to read sex or to not want to read sex or, and like 15-year-olds swear, 15-year-olds, all, and then some of them don't. And again, it's tricky because it is adults creating the art,
Yeah.
right? Generally speaking. But at the
But
same
most
time.
the thing is the authors that write in the YA space, I actually think that, like, they do it really well. Like, they know the audience that they're writing for. And
Yeah,
from the authors that I've met, the authors that I've talked, like, they know exactly who their target audience is.
right.
I think the market is driving
Yeah,
a lot of what they want. And I think Robin's point about YA not being written for actual teens,
yeah,
I think that is the marketing side of
right.
what the traditional publishing industry wants, because they know they're getting the older readers to read down And I don't mean read down in a negative way. I just mean to read down into a younger
Right.
reader category.
Let me know. Yeah.
And I mean, I could do a whole video on this. I won't because
Maybe you should.
I will get myself into trouble with it. But they're not right. I don't think they are writing to the target audience, but I don't necessarily think it's because it's the YA authors not wanting to write for the YA target audience, if that makes sense. I think it's what they're getting contracts for.
Yeah, it's
or what's popular and what they know will sell to a wider audience, which is fine because, as I said, kid lit, I think, is one of those categories that can be read by everyone. So I get that. But I think the content within those books is not matching the original target audience.
Right. Well, and like you said, adults can read children's books, but the children's books are written for children, and I think that that is not so much true with teens. The teens or the books are now being written to sell to the 26-year-old that reads YA fantasy, which there is nothing wrong with the 26-year-old reading YA fantasy, but the book cannot be written for them. It has to be written for the 14 or 17-year-old. It has to, or it doesn't belong. It's a betrayal of the very thing that you were originally dedicated the category to.
The other thing that I think is interesting, and I'd be really curious to know what it's kind of, and I've got to talk to one of my friends who is actually a high school librarian, but I would be really curious in knowing if your 17 and 18-year-olds in high school, finishing up high school, are actually reading YA, because I wasn't. I was reading adult titles by that stage. I was reading adult fantasy. I was reading adult action fiction, general fiction, all that sort of stuff. Because by the time you kind of hit, or I hit 17 or 18, I'd aged out of the stuff then, which is a little bit different to now, because I know that there's a wider variety of books. But because, say, in your final couple of years of high school, you're exposed to adult titles as part of your curriculum, the stuff that you are learning in school.
Right.
You're not necessarily reading in that category all the time. But I don't know. It's interesting, and I'm kind of glad that I don't work in high schools. I'm kind of quite happy just to sit in my primary school picture book, junior fiction, middle fiction category. Although I get asked about YA titles that are appropriate for our year sixes, because they are reading above.
Yeah, and that's the other thing too. And I think, I don't know what your literacy rates are like in Australia, but I know in the US they've been declining for quite some time, right? So you're also going to reach a point where your adult population wants to read adult content, but is not at an adult reading level.
Yeah.
And I kind of wonder what will happen with that.
Yeah, it'll be interesting, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But see, I think probably when we were all growing up, YA was written, the market was expressly for teens.
Right.
Whereas I think there's been a shift there. But I mean, I don't work in the industry, and I can just say, I'm just talking anecdotally from what I've seen.
Yeah, it certainly.
And I think it depends. I think it depends publishing house to publishing house as well.
I'm sure that's probably true as well. I'm sure you're probably right.
Anyway, that was we diverged hugely.
As
Sorry.
we should.
My fault that time. Yeah. Do you realize, Heather, way back at the very start, when we were talking about dialogue, I also had authors who do dialogue well as one of my ideas. It was just further down on my list.
Oh, well, I need you to make that video for me. I need you to make that video. I need other people to make that so that I can read those books. Please and thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, I was just about to reply. The long middle grade books, especially when they're written right for that target audience that's right in the middle, it frustrates me. I think I did a video talking about that. Anyway.
Sometimes it's hard to remember what we've just talked about and what I've watched you talk about.
No, I think I did do a video. I think we
Uh,
talked about me doing it. I think I actually filmed. But yeah, like, because middle grade is so, like, you can do such good things with middle grade in a really concise way. Sometimes the long books are great, but I think kids confuse being able to read a long book with a good quality book
yeah.
as
I
being a
mean,
good reader, which
I
is,
know.
they're not mutually exclusive, but I think they confuse. Yeah, they feel like they have to read the super long books to be considered a good reader.
I know in my local library, something that I have absolutely noticed is that the titles that have been on those shelves since I was a kid, because I moved to the town that I'm in, I moved here when I was 11. So I've been going to the same library on and off for the last 23 years. Some of the books that were there when I first started going are there.
Yeah,
And then you have, like, I know they have, Amari and the Night Brothers. Then you have, like, the newer ones, and they're, like, twice as thick
yeah,
or 3 times as thick as the old books. They legitimately are.
yeah,
And I know, like, my boys are 12 and 10. The only books that they will read on their own for their own fun without anyone assigning them reading are graphic novels.
yep,
One loves Wings of Fire and one loves Dogman. Those are
yep,
what they will actually pick up on their own for their own enjoyment and read. They will not pick up. They loved when I read them, Zachary Yin, um, but they won't read it themselves,
yeah.
and that's
I,
understandable.
yeah, I was talking to one of my best friends. Her daughter is 12, turning 13 this year,
Uh-huh.
and she's previously, like, her favorite thing to do was to read graphic novels,
Mhm.
and she'd previously struggled a little bit with reading and things like that. So to get her to read, like, that was the hook. And she recently, just because her mum and I are now doing a book club, so I work with her mum, but her mum's not working at the school this year, so
Mhm.
we're catching up and we're kind of just reading books together and whatever. And she sat in with us for one of our little chats, and then apparently a couple of days ago, she actually said to her mum, "Oh, I would like to read some books with romance," because she's seeing her friends in high school who are reading young adult fiction with romance, blah, blah, and she was
Yeah,
asking for some recommendations, which has prompted me to think about all of this.
yeah,
Um, and like, we've got a really good website here in Australia that actually takes all media content and actually will give it not so much a rating, but like an age category starting point for parents.
yeah, that's
I was
helpful.
able to send that through because I'm like, I find it really, like I said, I find it really difficult with the YA books to know sort of what is appropriate. The good thing is my friend is actually, she'll read the books with her daughter and she'll actually talk about them. And she's got no, like, they've read all the Heartstopper books together and talked about it,
Yeah,
about all of the relationship stuff. So, like,
yeah,
that's not an issue. Um, but like, for so many people, it's really difficult because, if you don't understand that graphic novels are a really complex way of reading, they're more complex than just reading words on a
mhm,
page.
yeah,
You often don't have the same extra information. You have to build that through the images and through inferring what's happening in
yeah,
the book. Like, it's not a sign of inferior literacy
yeah,
skills at all, but it's often treated that way.
for sure.
A bit like how, with romance books, people look down on it because it's women's.
Yeah,
There was a really good reel that I think I shared a couple of days ago, which was commenting on that. It's like, well, if you have these expectations on romance, what happens when this occurs in your proper grown-up books?
yeah,
Like, do the same standards apply?
yeah. Really, it's just interesting the biases that people have about things like that, they never confront, they never have thought about it at all. They don't
Yeah.
even think about the double standard that they are pushing on themselves or on genres or other readers.
Yeah. But also, like, I appreciate that people's lives are busy, but social media is the absolute bane of existence, because if you're on social media all the time and that's all your kids see you doing, they don't see you read.
Yeah.
And it also means that you don't feel like you have the time to read. And like, who was it? Oh, it was one of the girls I work with. We share a desk at work, and I was sharing the Murderbot Diaries trailer with her because I know she likes sci-fi TV shows. And so
Mhm.
they came in and said, oh, well, it's based off a book series, da, da, da. I said, I'm happy to lend it to you if you're interested. I said, it's very short. She's like, oh, it'll take me ages to read. I said, it's very short. I
Right.
can guarantee you, like, even if it takes you a month to read it, it's not like, her head, she was thinking it's going to take her months and months. I'm like, it's
Mhm.
not.
Right.
It's super short, and it's read, and it's written to be read quickly. Like,
Yeah.
that's the author's job.
Yeah.
Um, and anyway, I've given her the book. She said, I think my husband's going to steal it first. I said, that's fine. I said,
Right.
it's totally fine. But most adult, I mean, we're talking to people who are readers when we make content.
Right.
Most people are not readers, or
Right.
not. They don't well, I say that, but they don't consume books the same way that we do.
They don't identify as readers, a lot
And
of them.
they did a really amazing study over here they did a survey with, I can't remember what size the survey was, but of Australians and who consider themselves readers, who doesn't, etc. And they're looking at ways of increasing the group of people that are sitting in the category of, I don't consider myself to be a reader, but I'm interested in reading more, and looking at how they actually help those people to find and build reading into their daily lives, which I think is really fascinating.
Yeah.
But most of the time, people don't actually know what they like to, and we talked about this earlier, people don't know what they like to read. So
Mhm.
they don't know how to find book. They can't even articulate what it is that they are
Right.
interested
Yeah.
in books. Like,
Yeah.
someone said, oh, I always only, like, people comment that I always give books 4 stars. Like, and I give lots of books 4 stars. That's because I know what I like to read. I
Yeah.
know what I'm looking for. My ratings are always going to be skewed higher because I'm not trying to read books that I'm not going to be interested in. Whereas
Yeah.
a lot of people have to muddle through, and then they
I'll
keep
just pick
hitting
up
walls
anything.
and they give up because you're never reading anything that you like.
Some
And I
people
said,
that the people that I watch who, who comes to mind for this is Hedda from Mochi Bujo.
mm,
She will pick up
mm,
any book having no idea what it's about or what the vibes are, or, if it ends happily or any of the things. I literally never. And she likes reading that way, and I find that fascinating.
yeah,
And I think part of it is that, and I've talked about this a lot, but I've always been a reader, right? I read voraciously as a child. I was at a college reading level in, middle school. Like, I've always read and read a lot and read anything that I could get my hands on. And many of those books didn't have a synopsis, didn't
yeah,
have a dust jacket. I didn't know what the genre was. I didn't know what the story was. I was picking up a used secondhand hardback that my mom had read, or read at least enough to skimmed it to know if it was something that she was okay with me reading or not. But, like, I didn't know what the book was about all the time, and there were some books that I read that did end tragically, right? There were a lot of a lot of books that I read that, didn't have an ending that I loved because my character died or whatever. And so I've already lived that. So now, you know, being able to know being able to reviews, being able to read the synopsis, being able to have recommendations, everything that the bookish internet has opened up for me. I love it. And also, I did not know that romance genre meant a happily ever after, right? Like, I never read romance. I didn't know that. I did not realize that there was an entire genre dedicated to it has to end happily.
Well, my whole thing growing up, if you'd asked me what romance was, I would have said chick lit. or
Yeah.
women or general women's fiction,
Yeah.
because that's what was marketed.
Oh, I thought
And
it was
because and because there might have been a thread of romance in it, but
yeah,
maybe not an HEA, like that was romance. That was the traditionally
I
published romance
I
outside of
100% thought it was the 2000s cheesy rom-com with secondhand embarrassment, cringy humor, where the main character was their worst enemy and was always going to be in awkward situations that they got themselves into through no good reason, you know? Um, and I didn't like any of that. I don't like secondhand embarrassment. I don't like awkward and cringy. I don't like you trip in front of the love interest. I don't like your lying and that has gotten you in this web of that you can't get out of. Like I don't like you being your own worst enemy. So I just assumed, well, I'm gonna hate that.
Yeah, well, there's a live show discussion, Heather, for people talking about how they came into romance, what their original ideas of romance were, how that's been shaped by what they've read in years
I
past.
knew that. I swear to God, I had it on a list. I don't know if I ever did it though.
Doesn't matter, you can do it again.
I can't even think of what I would have called it to even search my channel for it.
Yeah, and like it's funny
Knowing
because
assumptions.
romance books, I don't necessarily need to read a synopsis for. I know people don't like the tropification of romance books, but to me, that's the fastest way for me to go, okay, well, am I actually interested in looking at this book further? Like, to me, that's all I need for a romance book. If I'm reading outside of romance, which I tend to do, I will read the synopsis, or I'll read the first page, or I'll read something just to get a sense of the book, because romance, even if I end up DNFing the book, I can trust what an author tells me about the tropes, generally speaking, because we know in this space, I think we are really in tune with what the expectations are. But outside of romance, I think I specifically need more information before I pick up a book.
That's interesting, Bina.
Mm.
I did do assumptions about romance, and it was a very ill-fated live show. Maybe my
But
least
I don't think this is so much. I don't think it's so much about assumptions as what were your assumptions,
right.
and how has that changed, and how did that change come about? I don't think I'm explaining that as quite as well, but
No, I've definitely talked about that as well because I think it is very interesting. I think it's especially interesting if, again, like we were talking about earlier, I don't like the rewriting of history of I never did that, I never thought that, you know, all
yeah,
of that. That's part of why I like to be upfront about what I thought, what changed my mind, and why
yeah,
now I am pretty passionate about defending the stance that I've arrived at.
yeah. No, for sure.
Kind of regardless
Um,
of what it's about.
I mean, all of this made me write down a note on a video. I know, Izzy said that Jess did something similar, but how to find books you actually want to read. Like, how do you actually do that? But not
I
that not that non-readers are going to be reading my channel, but like that would be
I
a,
keep
an
getting comments on my wrap-ups asking how I find books, and I genuinely don't know if they are legitimate good faith comments or not. I
yeah.
just I don't know. I don't know.
This is the same as my friend from before that I
Mhm.
mentioned. I like literally whenever I unhaul books, and usually it's the ones that I've read and I'm not keeping anymore, and I've enjoyed them. I'm like, do you want them? She'll just take them and she'll read them. She'll never tell me that she's read them until I see her in
Same.
person, but she'll read them, and she reads everything, which I'm
Wow.
like, that's a really cool kind
Yeah,
of reader to be as well.
I find that so interesting, just as a concept. Like, I really do.
Yeah. Like I've got a pile of books here that I have to send for her a photo and go, which ones do you want? I'm trying to think if there was anything else that I had on my list. I did have this is not directed to a specific author, but if you could give authors advice from reviewers, what would it be?
Yeah. And the
Oh,
thing is, readers don't agree.
no, they don't. That would be very personal.
Yeah.
A video of, I wish these were my first romance books that I read, as opposed to what you
Mm.
actually read first.
That's really interesting because I've done a video before about the first books I read in the different subgenres.
Mm.
And basically, all of those are favorites, right? They wouldn't
Mm.
be favorites necessarily now if I read them, not all of them, but they were all something that did a brand new thing in such a way, brand new to me thing in such a way that I then wanted more of it, right? So my experience wasn't terrible for any of them.
Yeah. Well, like, and this is a next year thing. I mean, assuming that I'm still making content, which is the plan at the moment.
Don't
Because
even
next,
do that.
I know,
Okay.
Heather would be very cranky at me.
I need
But
a reason to keep that going.
so next year, I will have been talking about books on BookTube for 10 years. And like there's a lot of people who are hitting that 10-year mark this year, which
Yeah.
is interesting and great. But like I've been trying to think of, well, what would I do? Because I don't want to just copy and paste sort of what they're doing. There's a lot of really great ideas, and there are things that I'll borrow. But for doing this for so long, I do want to talk about it.
Mhm.
And I know I've mentioned this to Heather before. One of them is the idea to go back and read some of the very first romances that I read, because I started reading romance books randomly before I even was reading romance. And it was, I don't even know how I picked some of these books up. They were just like, oh, someone said that this was a fun book, and so I read it.
Okay.
So I had no idea really what the romance genre was.
Mhm.
So like I will try and go back and read. I was going to try and do some of them this year, but I think I might just push it back to next year. We'll see. We'll see if I get it done before the end of the year.
Yeah.
Well, technically I could start, from August, which is when the channel turns 9. But like it's fascinating because my channel isn't the same. It's nowhere near the same as it was when I first started
Right.
reviewing books. And I know, and like you said, a lot of people go back and they'll private or
Mhm.
unlist videos and whatever. But I'm like, what's the point in that? Like a lot of time and effort has gone into making videos over 10 years. And some of those videos still get views, which it blows my mind. Like, why would you be watching that?
Yeah.
But like it's hard. Yeah, it's kind of hard to think about, well, what can you do that sort of celebrates and acknowledges 10 years worth of work?
Right. I think one of the things I definitely like is when people take clips of old videos and stuff and
Mm,
have them interspersed in the
yeah,
celebratory video, but that also has to be something you're willing to
put out
view,
there.
edit, and react and include and all of that. Uh, um, I have show, don't tell.
Mm,
So, different things that like my specific example is friend groups actually being friends in books. I don't think it's good enough to say, okay, we have this group of 5, but there's nothing there. It's just the background of
yeah,
this
it's
group
just
of
a setup.
5. Um, what else?
Uh, I had like even just simple things like your favorite fictional worlds, um, auto buy authors or auto read authors or whatever you want to call it. Books to get you out of a slump.
A classic.
Mhm. And one that I think, like, well, I think
Should
that
make
list tends to stay
those.
pretty static, but like every now and then you add to it, so that's always a good one.
Yeah, that might be one that I should do actually soon because I think it's been quite a while since I did
Mm.
it.
And look, I mean, I do this video all the time, but there was
Mhm.
yes, there is a lack of
Yeah,
strong
a friend
videos.
group. Okay, but, like, how I pick books, I don't, as the person as the person with the process, I don't think it would be interesting at all.
But you know what I think would be interesting is if this was kind of a collaboration kind of video where you had a few people posting videos about how they, because I think we all have very different ways that we find and choose books to read, and that being a way of people seeing options, because it's not necessarily interesting to us because we have ways that we do that. But I do think it's probably interesting to other people who have never considered that there's different ways of using books.
That's true. I just don't even know how I would describe it besides I'm on the bookish internet all the time and I see a book that I like the sound of and I add it, like, which it might seem like an simplification, but I don't really know what else to say about it. I've thought before about saying, of doing like a content creator recommendation video of people I get book recs from.
Yeah.
But that's never quite panned out either.
No, that was on my list as well. But yeah, like one of the things that I find so fascinating at the moment, and I suppose I find it interesting because I have a TBR jar as such, but everyone's doing TBR jars again. But the thing that drives me absolutely nuts about these videos is they're putting in prompts in there that they either don't have books for or that they don't want to use. And so they pull them out and they and ah about it and talk about how difficult the prompt is to find. I'm like, why are you stacking things against yourself?
Makes no sense whatsoever.
Like,
unless you're doing it for the spicy content, you know.
Well, and maybe you are.
I don't think they are though. They never.
I don't think
they never end up giving it a little reading. So are you really?
I have a comment that I will not make on public space about what I actually think is happening there. But like I to me, if you were creating a stack of books that you want to read, now creating any kind of stack of books puts pressure on you straight away because you feel like you've told people that you're going to read them, so you have to read them. I don't think that's not fun. I say that as someone who does that for myself, but I thrive under pressure. But why you would stack it in a way that means that you would then feel like you don't want to read some. I hate it when people say, I don't really feel like reading this now, but it's come up, so I'm going to read it. If you don't feel like reading it, don't read it.
Could not be us, will not be us, will never be us.
I will, Izzy. Yeah, like if you're going to create a TBR or do TBR videos, I love doing them. I think it's fun to kind of create something totally random, and it works for me. But I don't understand people who create things and then freak out about their game going against them, and then they end up with 15 books when they can only read 5 a month, or whatever. Like, I mean, each to their own. If it makes them happy, it makes them happy. Whatever. But I don't understand the pressure people feel like putting on themselves.
So true. I'm coming back to Izzy's comment, and I'm trying to think of who you could collab with that it would be different methods. I don't know. Hi.
Welcome. Also, if you like sci-fi romance, we're doing a read-along for the Phoenix Chronicles, and that's also a really good slump buster book series.
It doesn't have a ton of steam, but it is highly addictive.
It's got great banter, and it's got great tension between the love interests.
That's interesting, Bina. You could just repurpose it into a video. Want to. Yeah, I've done a few. Well, I've done a few videos about authors I won't read, whether that's anymore or ever.
Yeah. Also, Izzy talks about them a lot in her Romance Landia videos too.
I don't even remember what comment that was.
It's the one I won't air in public. I will send it to everyone later.
See, I don't feel guilty about having books that I won't read. Not that I, not that I have that many, but still.
Well, see, I think
for inanimate objects, I don't feel
well,
guilty.
I do read my TBR, but my TBR, like, it's not. I have very set conditions for what I will put on my TBR, and I do it exclusively because I'm trying to read what I own. Everything else outside of that, I just read whatever I feel like. So I don't know. It works for me.
I think it would be varied too, although I think a lot of it is just getting recommendations from the friend group. So I almost wonder if taking the collab outside the friend group would be more interesting. You know what I mean? I don't know. Thinking about it though. Thing is, it's not all that often I feel like that I get a video idea fully formed and ready to film immediately. A lot of times it's an idea and then I just kind of keep thinking about it because of one thing or another, and it eventually evolves to the thing that I make the video about.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I just have all my books in it. If I get bored, I just pick from the jar, and it's the book titles. It's not prompts.
I'm a mood reader, and it doesn't work out well for me.
Yeah. Novellas are a really good place to start, though. If you want to read, but you don't want to spend a long time reading because you're not sure what you want to read, novellas, or try a chapter. Just grab a bunch of things and just read the first chapter of them and see if something sparks joy. And if it doesn't,
that's interesting too. People do see mood reading as a negative thing sometimes.
Is it that they say mood reading is a negative thing, or they see it as it's not something that gives them it's something that doesn't fit? So I'm talking about content creators. Do they see it as something that doesn't give them the content that they think they're going to produce from it?
Yeah.
I love mood reading.
I think you're absolutely right about that for a lot of people. I also think though, I think the biggest struggle as a mood reader is always decision paralysis. You just don't know what to pick up next and you end up reading nothing. That is by far my biggest gripe with being a mood reader.
Oh, nice.
And how is it going, Vina?
I'm like, I don't know. I like 50-50. I like some structure and I like time to do whatever I like with books. Because there's always things that come up and I'm like, oh, I want to read that right now.
You know what? Okay, this is so funny actually, because I was thinking about not this specifically, but a different thing today or yesterday. I don't know. I was thinking about how I don't follow very many men in the bookish space, right? I follow Gavin and I just have lost his name, have lost his channel name, have lost everything. Is his name SAJID?
I don't know.
Oh God. Anyways, I follow like two people. I follow like two men in all of booktube. And I don't feel bad about it. I don't feel bad about it at all. Yes, thank you. And Catchy, yes. It's like, I mean, I could see its face. I was like, I know.
Yeah, I follow a few more on
Instagram. But I don't know. You know what it was when I was thinking about it was I think someone posted on Instagram about how, like, a random guy posted on Book Talk and got a bunch of followers, as one does. And, like, I would rather die.
Yeah.
I would. But then, obviously, I don't like to be gender essentialist with it either. Is that even the phrase I want?
Yeah, it sounds familiar. I know what you mean.
But yeah. The thing is, based on I have watched a few things and I actually have some thoughts about this, and I think, and these are not original thoughts to me, but I think it is true. The more prevalent women reading becomes on the internet, the more feminine reading as a pastime looks, and the less popular it is for toxic masculinity and the patriarchy, right? So anyone who's like heavily buying into those thoughts and beliefs and principles is going to view reading as too feminine. And I think that that is a pattern that is happening.
Yeah, like as you were saying, a lot of the male content creators I follow either on Instagram or who they identify as queer and they read more.
Oh, for sure. I don't know if I have ever followed a straight man. I'm not sure that I ever have.
Hmm.
Oh,
well, and they don't tend to read the things that I'm interested in either. So why would I follow them?
Yeah, he's great. He has some really good discussions. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie to you. I don't care about that man. I'll be real honest with you. Yeah, random guys. And it's like Gavin, for instance. I think he's someone that his content is really, really well done, right? I think he does a lot of content that is very involved and, just a production. It's a lot of time, it's a lot of effort. Sometimes it is even a lot of money that he's putting into a specific video. And the musical theater of it all is very much a part of like his brand and some of the videos that do well and have really grown his channel. He is a male booktuber, male bookish content creator that I feel like it's not just hot guy basic takes. Here you go. He's doing a lot to make his content great. And I think that that's great. Which is why I follow him and enjoy his content. Not that you have to, but that's how I feel about it.
Yeah. Agreed.
This is my own personal issue, okay? But there's nothing I despise more than a hot man who knows he's hot and thinks that being hot is great. I hate it. I do. It's annoying. It gives me the ick. I can't even enjoy a thirst trap because I'm just like, how gross that you made this. How gross that you were like, people find me hot. I don't like it. Women, queer people, femmes, gender fluid, you name it, I will watch your thirst trap all day long. I will. The second it appears to be a straight man, I'm like, ill. How dare you? No. So that's more than you needed to know about me.
And yet I still get the best recommendations come from women reading in both those genres.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest. I don't care about their opinion. So it doesn't matter if we read the same books or not. I don't care what they have to say, generally speaking. I mean, yeah. To be honest, I don't think I follow a lot of book talkers. I think I just interact with a lot. Book talk TikTok in general, I will never ever, check my notifications. You cannot get a hold of me there. You're answering my comment. One time, this was, like, I don't even know, like, a few months ago, a few weeks ago, Bree, Electrician, again, she video replied to my comment on one of our videos, and I only found out when I accidentally scrolled on that video.
Yeah, I haven't been on TikTok for a while, so
I
yeah.
love just leaving comments and likes and never, ever, ever checking to see if anyone has annoyed me with their response.
Yeah, that
But
doesn't
again,
surprise me.
like, if gay men like it and women like it, and if queer people in general like it, then it's viewed as feminine, right? And feminine is bad if you are into toxic masculinity, which
Yeah.
is what the large majority of men are certainly socialized as.
Mhm.
I
Yep,
mean,
that doesn't surprise me. Yes.
yeah.
But, I could even take that to a lack of,
You know exactly what videos you're talking about, so I don't know what that says about you and me together.
um yeah, I was gonna
Just
say even a lack of books. I know we talked about middle fiction and YA before, but a lack of books that are written for young middle fiction and young adult males as well.
yeah.
There's some
No,
really good stuff, but there's also stuff that's just
yeah.
doesn't just perpetuates things that we don't want them to perpetuate.
I don't think that people would read more if there were trailers or anything advertised. I think people obviously, you have book talk and the rest of social media, but you have book talk in a lot of ways popularizing reading with people who were not already reading consistently. Either they have been readers in the past and haven't really read. That's often the case. All of us go through different seasons of life. Sometimes you might read more, sometimes you might not. But in general, I think people who want to read.
Mm.
And also, again, okay, all right, soapbox. I don't think that there is any moral superiority to being a reader over other consuming of media. Readers love to identify as a reader and have being a reader, me included, and have being a reader be something that is good about them, right? And I just think that this is especially true of people who grow up as readers, because if you are a kid who is sitting there reading a book, there is a good chance you're going to get a compliment from an adult about being a good reader.
Mhm.
But it's not actually better. I don't think it makes you a better person. I don't think it makes you smarter. I
It's just
don't think
something you like.
I don't even necessarily think it makes you more empathetic, because some of the readers are assholes, and that, I promise you, is true, is the fact. Okay? Some of you suck.
Read books, don't be an asshole.
Right. Like, you have readers and they're racist. You have readers and they're homophobic. Again, the entire thing about book talk voting for Trump, no one should be surprised that some readers have awful politics, that some readers are bad people, because being a reader doesn't make you better. It just doesn't. It's just reading. It's just a preference. That's all it is. And often, too, you have to remind yourself, most people who are readers, right, picked up reading easily. They didn't struggle with it, and because they didn't struggle with it, they enjoyed it, and because they enjoyed it, they did it more. Because they did it more, they didn't struggle with it, and it just builds on itself. And
Yeah.
that doesn't make you smarter or better than someone who had a really crappy experience trying to learn how to read and never really got into it for enjoyment.
Well, so interesting that comment about book talk. I would be really curious because one, I agree. I never really got that many book recommendations from book talk. But given that you're thinking about a group of people who are on a platform that is designed for speed. It's designed to be fast and easily consumable. So the books they're going to read are going to be books that are easily consumable books.
Yeah.
Like,
See,
that doesn't necessarily equate it doesn't negate quality, but it also doesn't equate quality of
right,
books either.
right. Well, like, see, this type of thing honestly does really, really annoy me. It does really annoy me because, like, and I'm sure a lot of it is this very personal experience, right? I'm a reader. I was reading the King James Bible as a child, right? I read difficult things all the time. My parents were readers. My parents were very involved. I was homeschooled, but my parents were very involved in my education. We did a lot of reading as a family, a lot of me reading out loud and them letting me know how to pronounce something or what something meant. There was a lot of that. It was like a big part of my life, right? I have never struggled with reading. I've always been exceptionally good at reading. If we want to be completely honest, not that I'm the best, and I'm certainly not the best in the bookish space, but you put me against the average person, I'm a better reader than they are. That's just a fact. And again, that's not even like a special tribute of, or not tribute, but that doesn't make me better than them. It's not like a particularly good attribute of mine. It's just something that exists with me as a person. I've always been a good reader. My husband is dyslexic and didn't have any teachers who really addressed that properly. And he never got into reading for enjoyment. And he always struggled with reading and spelling particularly, right? And just it wasn't fun. It was traumatic. It was not a good time. And in a lot of ways, he just got, passed along. Not that my husband is illiterate. Um he isn't, but at the same time, he struggles with spelling, and again, he doesn't enjoy reading generally as a hobby.
Mhm.
Um that doesn't make me better than my husband. It doesn't make me smarter than my husband. It doesn't make me anything. And particularly with men, I wish that people would just understand that a partner is someone who loves you, who values you, who cares about you, who cares about your opinions, who cares about the dumb things. They like you, they love you. You're important to them, not just for what you can provide for them, but because of who you are, because they like being around you, because they view you as a whole person and not just as, somebody that they get to have sex with. And there are so many articulate, tall, hot, high paid men or whatever that are garbage. They're garbage. They're the worst. And that's true of, any attribute you want to do. But there are so many things that people will say, I don't know, I want a tall guy. I want whatever. Or I think a lot of times it's the men thinking that this is what women want from them, right? You have to be tall, you have to be rich. You actually just have to have the type of personality who is not completely self-absorbed and is happy to talk to other people and hear what they have to say, particularly your partner. You don't have
Yeah.
to be social with everybody. You have to like your partner. You have to care about your partner. You have to enjoy talking to them and being with them. And more importantly than anything else, viewing them as a person. And I think a lot of men don't view um, women as people, as whole people.
Yeah.
Um, so being a reader, I don't know. I don't know. It doesn't really do anything for me. I'm glad if you do. If you can talk and Prejudice to me, sure. I would love to. Let's have that conversation. But I don't know. I think picking random things off a list and deciding that this is what your partner needs is weird. And I think it's because the most important thing is that person is kind and loving and likes you.
Yep. And if someone doesn't like you because you spend a lot of time reading, well, that says more about them than
Right.
anything. Like it goes both ways.
Yeah.
I think you just need accurate marketing.
Right.
That's just
exactly.
I think if you can clearly say who your readership is it an adult audience or is it young adult or is it for younger than young adult? And I like authors who put content warnings or just content notes in the start of their books and, you know, make that available so people can preview it if you're reading ebooks.
Yeah.
I don't think you need ratings.
Also, content warnings are really extremely helpful with that.
Mm-hmm.
Even if your content warning is this has explicit sexual content, language, and some themes of suspense or what have you, you know.
Someone who does that actually, Taubauer does that quite there are some books that he could probably put a few more things in, but he does generally just have something as simple as that, which I think is enough.
The reader and gamer partnership is truly elite. It really is.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, and that's all right. A lot of that is, one, how does your brain work? And two, how was your brain trained?
Yep.
How were you trained to try and memorize spellings? And could you?
It was probably because you were trained to try and memorize spelling when actually you needed to be taught about how it worked.
Yes, that's so true. Spoken like a teacher.
Well, and I know it's been a thing over there for a while, and you know, our school has done this for a while, but there's been a massive big push again to relook at explicit systematic phonics instruction in school and how we teach spelling. So a lot of I've always done it, but I think this year I've become a better teacher as a result of sort of the work that we've been doing, which is what you always want as a teacher. You always want to get better at it.
Yeah.
But even when kids who can't spell turn around, like one of my little kids the other day spelt a word that she looked at me and she went, I can't spell that. I said, actually you can, because we're focusing on these two sounds, and you know the rule. One, if you hear the sound in the middle of the word, you know it's going to be this way, and if it's at the end of the word, you know it's going to be that way. So all you need to think about is where that sound is.
Yeah.
Because that's the rule. We know that it's not going to appear, like one way of spelling it is not going to appear in the other place. It's not trying to confuse you. As long as you just remember, I think it was oi. So oi will be at the start or the middle of the word. No, a, sorry. AI is at the start or in the middle. AY is at the end. All you need to think about is, where do you hear that sound? And she's like, oh. And she spelled the word. And she went, oh, I can spell it. I said, yeah, you can. Because you need to learn the rules. And there's a lot of them in English. That's the difficult thing about English. There's a lot of rules. Yeah. But there are rules, and it behaves in accordance to those rules.
Yes.
But if you're never taught that, I was not taught that way.
Mm-hmm.
I was not taught that way. I had to learn when I had to teach other teachers to teach that way.
Yeah.
So anyway.
Very interesting that you would have to learn a whole new thing as an adult teacher.
Yeah.
And something that you've always, you know, that you've known for such a long time and yet didn't know.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you already knew how to read. You've known how to read for a long time. Now you're learning.
I was one of the kids who could learn to read through whole language just because that's how my brain works. Yeah. And I've got kids in my class who can learn that way, but I've also got 2/3 of my class who that doesn't work.
Yeah.
So, And the thing is, like, it's not just phonics. You also need to know your morphology, your meaning of the words, and you need to know the etymology, the history of the words in order to be able to piece together things, because some of the irregular spellings come from other languages that have been incorporated into English.
Yes.
That's where the tricky part comes
And
in.
once you know that too,
Phonics
it's
itself
like,
is quite a stable
yeah.
rule system, but it's when you have incorporations of other languages that it makes it tricky. And that English is the hardest language to learn because we have a lot of rules,
Yeah.
and there's like 70 something different phonemes that you can use, but there's like over 1,000 different ways you can use them.
Mm.
Something like that. Oh, no, hang on. Yeah, something like that. I've got the stats somewhere. It's in the training stuff that I used to do.
That's fascinating, though.
Yeah.
It really is.
When we talk about English as an additional language learners, like their workload is massive to be able to learn it. It's huge. So you always have mad respect for people who can learn English as their second language.
Absolutely. Accent English is, a sign of intelligence, a sign of someone who was able to at least grasp some of it, because
And I say that as someone who as a kid was, I was in language classes to learn Italian, which is one of the most stable languages in terms of it. There's not a lot of irregularity in it.
Okay.
But for whatever reason, my brain doesn't function with other languages. Like I can't, you have to be able to think in the language, and I can't do that. So it makes it really difficult. So I have mad respect for everyone who learns more than one language.
That's very interesting as well. I don't know if I've ever really heard it described that way, that you have to be able to think in the other language.
Oh, well, I don't mean fully think, but you have to be able to know and think about the rules.
You can't be stopping to translate each word as you think of the sentence.
Well, you can, but you'd be slow.
You have to get past that.
Yeah. I have other skills. Languages is not one of them, unless you're talking English language.
And that's the thing. It doesn't matter what your skills are. There's a whole lot in the world that you don't have, and there's a whole lot that you have that are valuable. So,
yeah. And I think I've probably started reading more translated books in recent years. A lot of it has been science fiction work.
Uh-huh.
And to me, I find that really fascinating, because oftentimes the ideas are the same, but they're also just a little bit different, because you're coming from a different culture, and it has to be translated within the context of the book. So you can't just adjust the content for an English speaking audience. You have to, translators are, I think, amazing.
Yes.
They're so amazing.
Right. Because you need to keep the essence there. You can't just go the most literal sometimes. Like, you need to keep the point.
Yeah. Do you know it was really fun? So I was doing the science fiction readathon this month, and I had this short story collection by Cixin Liu, who wrote The Three-Body Problem, which is a very dense, very complex sci-fi, translated sci-fi book. It's a Chinese science fiction story. And I have read it once upon a time, and I never continued on because I'm like, I love this, but it's way over my head.
It was a lot, yeah.
Anyway, it was a collection of his short stories and essays, and all of them have been translated. But he had one where he was writing an essay or an article about one of the guys that translates his work. And it was just the nicest letter of how amazing this person was, because they've released their own collection of stories, and how much he, appreciates the work that he does, and the way that he not only translates from another language into English, but can also write his own stories but also keep the themes of his cultural background in it, even though he's writing in his native English. And that was so cool to see another author just singing the praises of another author.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it is. It is so cool sometimes to see who professionals or the greats who they are so impressed by, you know, or who they love talking to or talking about because it excites them what that person is doing and what, you know, their viewpoint and stuff. That's so fun. Hey.
Hello. You've
Not
missed
much.
everything from rants, random discussions, video ideas. There's 2.5 hours worth of us talking about.
I do not even have May filled out. I hope you know.
You haven't filled it out yet? Okay,
No.
let's recap because the goal is for you to have at least May ready to go. So of the ideas you have come up with.
Okay.
See? Look, Heather,
What?
I want to know how you all find books. We had this conversation.
No. I bet you right now, if we go in Izzy's Discord, she told them to come tell us that. They want
I
to know.
haven't got Discord open, so I'm not checking.
I don't know if that's true because I have all notifications turned off, but I bet you that happened. Right.
Of course not. Why would you do that?
This is not a pattern that I've ever caught on to before.
Okay, there you go. Which channel was that in? I'm checking now.
She probably made a private one that we're not in. Oh, she tagged us. Opposite. Instead of trying to hide it from us, she tried to bring it to our attention. I don't know how to talk about this. I am going to have to seriously think about it's in chatter. I'm going to have to seriously think about this because scrolling doesn't seem to be an answer you people are willing to accept. And that's my answer. That's
But
not
you know
really
what? But you know what I think it is? It's not. It's like, yes, it is scrolling because I do that as well. But I don't know if it's just like that's it, because then you would open it, you'd search it up and you'd open it. I don't automatically add the books that I screenshot to my TBR, even though I've screenshotted them going, oh, I'd like to read that. Because I think I probably do when I have a book is then I will read the synopsis or I'll read some of it or I'll go and find a Goodreads review if I'm at all, you know, on the fence.
Same. I usually have a couple of filters basically that has to make through. I see something that catches my eye. Usually, truth be told, it's a trope or a buzzword or artwork, whether that's the cover or other artwork, does tend to grab my attention. Like I love trope marketing. I know that some people really despise it. I love it. Give me a little graphic with arrows pointing at forced proximity, only one bed. You know, I love those things. But I would say I rely really heavily on buzzwords and similar recommendations. So, things that are like books that I've already loved, whether that is Goodreads saying it, Kindle recommendation saying it, or an actual person, right? But it's all vibes. It's all a vibe. And a lot of times, like a little half sentence in the synopsis that either turns me off or on whether or not to actually hit one to read.
Yeah. I mean, I can understand some people thinking, where on earth did I find some of the books that I read? Because particularly when I'm bouncing around genres, because that's a bit weird. The romance books, I tend to
What if you did take like a section of time and tracked what made you add every book in those 2 weeks or that month or something like that.
Well,
sounds like a pain.
Yeah.
But
Well, the thing is, I think I've said in a video, I also love trope marketing, by the way. It's my favorite thing.
Yeah.
Like, I don't buy my romance books in bookstores, generally speaking. Like, if there's something I've read previously that's trad published, I might pick it up if I see it in the store. But when I go to my local bookstore, I spend the least amount of time in the romance section. I'm always in the sci-fi fantasy section, and I'm just looking at book covers. And they always have the new books front facing.
Yeah.
So sometimes if there's a really good cover, I'll pick it up.
Yeah.
And I might just buy it.
Yeah.
But I don't go like online. I'll scroll and I'll use tropes to pick up romance books. But if I'm reading outside of romance, it's usually probably because I've been in a bookstore, which is the way most people actually.
Yeah.
People who are not content creators browse. But that's how, like, I mean,
Yeah.
I also worked in a bookstore for a long time, so I know how bookstores work, and I do know what they're doing when they front face books and things like that. So I don't
know. One thing I can tell you about Amazon suggestions, for as much as they don't pay their Kindle Unlimited authors for any pages that you didn't read, they sure don't factor that into the suggestions and recommendations, because I read 12 pages of that book and put it down. You know that. I know you know that. So why are you suggesting book 2 and book 3 and book 4? Why are you doing that? You and I both know. I checked that out one time. I read 12 pages. I returned it. I added nothing else by the author to my TBR. You own Goodreads. You know I didn't add it. Yeah. You know I didn't add it. So why are you recommending it to me?
My favorite thing about the Amazon, and I say favorite and I'm being sarcastic, my favorite thing about the Amazon ads for books is that you'll search a book title, they'll recommend you a book.
Oh my God.
And they'll have your book, and then they'll have the same book that has the paid recommendation as the next book. I'm like,
yep.
It's already on the same line. I don't need to see it twice.
I never click on the paid recommendations for those. No. And I don't know if this is correct or not. I figure if I click on it, that I don't know which is better for the person that paid for the promotion, assuming it's the author or the publisher, right?
Yeah.
I don't know which is better, to click the paid one or the.
If it was an indie author, I'd probably click on this
I was clicking the unpaid, because I'm like, what if they have to pay for?
Yeah, well, they do have to pay for the ad, so the click would pay back the ad fee.
So it's better to click on it?
I would do it. I would probably, well, I don't know. Usually that's not the book I'm looking for anyway. It's usually not the book I'm looking for, so I don't click on any of them.
So I already have this video idea, and it's basically reading books I've never heard of before. And it's books specifically from the suggestions of other books, right? So I didn't get it from any person. I got it from Goodreads or Kindle based on other books that I read. One thing I will say too about the Amazon suggestions is it is completely based on what you check out and what you download and what you buy. So it's really just giving you more of what you already picked, one way or another. But I do have that video idea. But that video idea involves reading books, and we all know sometimes I won't do that.
Yeah. I gave up on that video.
Yeah, there's a whole bunch. You have to scroll through a bunch that are like paid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, Shay came back, so I shared it while she wasn't here.
Yes, you did, but you brought it back.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Do you have any other ideas? I figure we should rapid fire give a couple more ideas, and then we should probably cut this off because
I want to make sure that you have some things for May first. Sorry.
Oh yeah, that's true.
This
That
was
was
the whole
the
point of this.
original premise of this video.
Because my May is full. So
All right, let's see. I have April wrap up, a romanticy discussion. It's all about the vibes discussion. This is all discussion, so this is not great already. What I need in romance books discussion, blank space. Which, yeah,
try
blank
chapter.
of what?
Whatever's currently on your Kindle Unlimited checkout list.
Oh my god. What is currently on my Kindle Unlimited checkout list? I have 6 books checked out on Kindle Unlimited right now.
So you could do a try chapter with 6 book recommendations with 6 books.
Well, I'm reading one of them, and he's not talking to his fated mate and wife that's brand new to the world. So,
Oh, actually, that reminds me. There is one of them.
And I have 3 library checkouts. So there you go on that. Last time you did Queer Rex. When was the last time I did Queer Rex?
Oh,
You
that's because June is after May, isn't it? Oh my gosh.
Okay.
What is time? Someone did ask me to do a polyamorous and why choose recommendation video after I did my other one.
Maybe the last time I did it specifically was in 2021. This is to be believed.
You do a new one?
I could do a new one. I could do Be Gay, Do Crime.
Yes. I vote for that one.
I don't know for sure if I even have enough for that, though. I can think of a couple off the top of my head, but I don't know if I can.
A rec video doesn't have to have lots of books, Heather.
It has to have 5. I refuse to do any below 5. That's my threshold.
Fair enough. I can't really argue with that since my new little wrap-up series is the last 5.
So just my usual reading week, is that what we're suggesting here? Here's the thing, and I think that you can see this a lot now in the way that I'm doing my wrap-ups, where I mention if I DNF'd a book, when I DNF'd it, in the month, right? My DNFs tend to happen all at one time, right? I go 7 days with no DNFs, and then I DNF 4 in the space of an hour and a half, and then I find a book that sticks, and then I read 3 books, and then I DNF. That seems to be, I think, because a lot of times, again, it's like that decision paralysis thing where it's like, okay, I don't really know what I'm reading, so I'm going to try these things that I don't have any precedent for. I don't already know this author, all of that. So they're all just gambles.
Yeah.
It is a good title. I will give you that. Let me write it down. Your contribution has been acknowledged and appreciated. Reading until I stop DNFing books. Reading vlog that goes until I finish a book. All right. Dun, dun, dun. Specifically with new to me authors, because that's the truth of the matter right there. TBRs. Yes. Correctamundo. You're right. You're right. You're right. You're very wise.
Do you need any more? Do you need any more spaces filled? If I Heather?
Well, did I write that down in my planner? No, I didn't. All right, so I have blank space.
You should all just note that Heather and I have lovely matching planners.
Yeah, we do.
We have talked about this before, but there's the proof.
My fairy godmother. You can never be annoying. None of you guys are annoying. Annoying people get blocked. Just kidding. Some of them do, but not many. Ooh. When's the last time I did a Mafia? Recommendation. The last time I did a Mafia recommendation cannot be 2022. That's ridiculous. That can't be true. You know why? Because they've all been trash. I have not been coming up with new recommendations for it. Huh. I don't know. I don't know if I have 5 more than from this time. I'm looking at what I did in this video, and I'm not sure I have 5 more. I know I have 1, Love Most Fatal by Kath Richards. Ever heard of it? You all should read it. Trying to tell you. Screaming into the void. Yeah, I'll have to check. Let me make a note. What else do I have? A potential romantasy live, a do or die vlog. I don't know. Mafia. You know what I could do, Izzy? Where are you? Where are you? I'm over here. Okay, I could do this with Mafia books. Because they get DNFs a lot of it.
Yes, you could.
I don't know if I have enough for Jealous and Possessive. I did it every year for a couple of years, but I feel like that dynamic has not been giving what I want it to give. I'm not picking up great ones. I still love the dynamic. The dynamic I love, but so many of them are kind of subpar, and that's not what I want.
I'm trying to think of one with summer in that. Well, I have one, but I'm not going to say it's a great one to read, so I'm not going to give you that recommendation. I'm just trying to think of some titles. I will send them to you, Shay.
Oh, that sucks though. You know what is interesting though? I would give you this recommendation. If you would actually like to make video content, right? And you don't want to mask and you don't want to do anything, film the videos and trash them. Don't even look at them. You don't have to put yourself through that if that's going to bother you, right? But the more you repeat the process of filming the video, sometimes editing does help. It does kind of let you know what you're doing or not. But again, not necessarily. It's the act of filming. The more you film, the easier it is, the more natural it is. And there's no way to skip it or shortcut it. You can't suddenly be a complete natural in your first video. You can't. Probably not in your first 50 videos, for being really honest. It's the act of filming and talking to the camera that lets it happen. And it's a recommendation that a lot of people have given, but I think that it is a really good one, is to film videos and not post them. Maybe not even edit them. Just film them and get used to it.
I've gotten to a point
You did enough,
where
you know it.
yeah, I was gonna say when I edit videos, I actually don't watch the video. I like the video is on the screen, but I'm only watching the soundtrack, which I need to edit because I don't like watching myself.
Interesting. I will notice sometimes that, I love watching myself. First of all, I love editing. I am sitting there smiling. I'm laughing at
Yes,
all my jokes.
she's the she's the weird one of our group. She
This
likes it.
this girl knows her stuff. Um, but sometimes I'll notice like a camera angle or something like that, or something, something. We all have these things. And it's just like, all right, so you're hideous. Let's get through this. Let's let's edit this and get to and post it and not watch it again. But you know what? You know what I've thought so much about with that, specifically hating the way you look, right? Or not liking your fat showing or your acne showing or something that, is generally considered unattractive, but yet is representation that we need, is something that is good and something that I want to um have other people feel positively about for themselves. If I want you to film and not feel self-conscious about your stomach or double chin or acne or nose or whatever it is, then I can't only post the ones where I feel like I hit all of that, right? Where I made it where I liked the thing on the screen, the thing that I was presenting, knowing that that is, not an accurate representation of what I look like, or is not an accurate representation of, um, I don't know, how I feel about myself. And because I don't want you thinking that no one has a stomach. I don't want you thinking that no one has acne, because of course we do. But, and I so appreciate when people will even mention sometimes their struggles of, "Oh, I realized I was sucking in my stomach on camera, and that's ridiculous. Why would I do that?" Right? Um, or what have you. Um, I just think that's an extremely common one, right? And yeah, like, as he's saying, or I don't want to contribute to people trying to get unrealistic standards on themselves. I don't. I want to contribute to a better world where these things are accepted and are valued and are not ostracized by a system that is just out to make money on us, honestly. Like, I don't want to contribute to that. If I don't want to contribute to that, then I can't allow myself to be falling into that standard and trap. And that sometimes means, and again, you have to be careful of your own mental health. So that sometimes means posting something that I don't like.
Yeah.
I don't like how I looked, knowing that I would never criticize that on a friend. I would never look at that video of my friend and be like, "Wow, they do not look good." I wouldn't. I wouldn't.
Yeah. In terms of that feeling inauthentic, like that's it's a really tricky one. And I suppose if you guys think that I'm super comfortable with Heather. So Heather and I are friends. We've been friends for a long time. So the way I'm presenting now, this is how I am with people that I'm really close to. I still behave this way on camera because there's no one else in the room. But if you were in the room with me and I didn't know you, I probably wouldn't talk to you. And it's not personal. It's because I'm still like, for me, I'm very uncomfortable in social situations. And I don't think my videos necessarily translate that,
Right.
because whenever you are on camera, it is a bit of a performance. And I suppose in a lot of ways I had to get used to sort of that anyway as a teacher, because teaching isn't a performance, but it kind of is as well at the same time, because you have to keep kids interested in what it is that you're doing. I'm not constantly up here and having these conversations. I'll get off this stream and I will not talk to anyone for the rest of the day.
Exactly.
That's like I've mentally prepared to be talking and conversational and things like that. And it's just because I've had a lot of practice doing it. Like it's so yes, it is kind of like masking to me. I don't feel inauthentic when I do that because now this is just part of something that I do and I love talking about books, but I
Yeah.
wouldn't do it in a room of people, if that makes sense. Like it's a very weird feeling when you first start doing it. And yeah, that idea of filming and then not uploading it, don't even look at it. Like there are so many videos that I film and I get to the end of it. I talked about this earlier with some of the videos that I film and I never even go back and edit them. I just delete the footage. Oh, pause, please. But yes, I get
it. But yeah. And, it's not 100% the same as masking. The fake voice and pitch and that people make when they first start filming that they can't help. Almost everyone, if they go back to their beginning videos, their voice is higher pitched than it is, 6 years in or what have you. So it's not exactly the same as masking, right? I mean, masking can be additional on top of that for sure. But yeah, just if it's comfortable for you. It doesn't have to be. You don't have to make content, right? It's just if it's something that you actively want to do, that's a learning curve that can be very, very helpful, is to just film it.
Also, if you wanted to get started with filming things, but you didn't actually physically want to be in the shot, there are so many ways that you can film content without you physically being in the shot as well. And I always forget this because the channel is now a booktube channel, but I started out journaling and I was never in those videos. Like I was doing stuff, you could see my hands, and I was talking to the camera, but that's all I was doing. I was never in the footage, and I had to get used to listening to myself and editing myself first. And then I got used to the video, but I still don't like film. I don't like looking at the video footage of myself, and that's just a personal quirk.
Yeah. Yeah. Although I think it's a very common one. And I also think that people get real fatigued. But I also, again, a lot of it depends on the insecurities that you're starting with, right? If you hate your voice for whatever reason, then editing yourself is difficult because of that. Again, everyone has something physically that they don't like the way that they look. Probably many somethings that no one else has ever thought twice about for them, right? People are not going around thinking about your pores the way you are, you know. But you are, whatever issues you are dealing with when it comes to your own perception of yourself are valid. So if filming and editing are not good for you, that's valid too, really.
Just like try things. And like I said, you don't have to post anything, but just try different, if it's something you really want to do, try different things, see how you go, see what you feel comfortable with. Because at the end of the day, you have to be comfortable with it. Otherwise, it's not sustainable.
Also, when I started filming on my phone, I always filmed like this. I would do like a 12-second clip to make sure I was sitting in the frame. I would check that. But I couldn't see myself on camera while I was filming at all. And that really helped me not to, one, to actually look at the camera, and two, like, I don't know. You're not seeing yourself, so you're not as focused on it. But it's just practice over and over.
Like I'm never looking at the camera because I can't. Because if I look at the camera, I can see the screen. So I know it probably looks like it because I've learned to look where I can sort of frame it.
Yeah. So you were here for our many side quests before you joined the live.
This is but one of many side quests.
We've been doing this the whole time. It's not your fault.
I just don't like. I'm not a fan of the TikTok style of video, but I suppose it's because I started in long form video. So short form video to me, I'm not a short form person in any sense of the word.
I like getting to be there and not having to be a content creator. I'm not gonna lie, I really do.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Are you kidding me? I sweat so much on lives, you guys don't even know. You never know. The stress kills me. Even when I'm having a wonderful time, I stress sweat all the way through. So you're welcome. All right. We have 40 seconds.
Just
You can
making it to
do
the 3-hour mark.
you can do 25 romance recommendations. I got that from Angela, Literature Science Lines. She was not doing romance. Is romance shameful? Why are you embarrassed to talk about what you're reading if it's a romance? Asking specific authors to write specific representations. I find this one weird and interesting. When they'll ask like a specific author, would you ever write blank character?
Oh,
I
yeah.
find that interesting. Read the first line of all TBR books. Potentially could do by category. So you could do the first line of all of your fantasy. That's all of your sci-fi.
I had your favorite book quotes, but I don't know where that went on my list. Maybe I forgot to transfer it over.
No, that's a good one. Jashana actually has done a couple of different videos for books. She used to do this a long time ago, where she'd just read her favorite quotes from books. And that's actually why I read, I think that's why I put, God, what's the TJ Klune book? What is it?
Which one?
The house on the Cerulean Sea. I'm pretty sure that's why I put that book on my TBR, was just the quotes that she read.
Yeah.
Do
you know what I've taken away from the last side quest conversation?
Ooh, what?
Is that there could be a discussion or a live show or something around the reality of content creation.
Okay, listen, I almost did this video like a year or two ago. I actually started filming a couple clips of it, but it's just yeah, I mean, we joke about, wearing pajama pants or something while wearing red lipstick and
Red trucky pants.
earrings and everything. Like there's a lot of things that are almost cliches and are funny, but yeah, and I like watching people do behind the scenes, day in the life of a booktuber, week in the life of a booktuber, that type of thing. But yeah, also again, sometimes I think you don't owe people vulnerability. You don't owe them answers. You don't owe them anything. But you do owe them honesty. Honesty does not have to mean that you reveal things that you don't want to reveal. It's something that you're not lying about it, right? You're not saying one thing fully knowing that you're doing something completely different.
Yeah.
But being willing to admit things that are not all shiny and glamorous is good, because I don't want to contribute to other people feeling bad about themselves, comparing themselves to a version of me that is not real.
Yeah.
Doesn't exist. I don't want to do that to people. So yeah, any controversial thing is stressful, because you always know you're going to get people leaving, certain comments, but you also never really know if maybe you're going to be the one that hits the discourse and people, just don't take it the way you meant it. And you become the main character of people who have never seen you before that event. That's stressful to think about the possibility of. No one wants to be the main character of the day. It doesn't look fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do too. I do too. Yes, exactly. Exactly. you don't have to give people any information about your private life that you don't want to, but you shouldn't be lying, talking about you shouldn't be lying.
Yeah.
You shouldn't be telling them how great everything, is and how they should also buy this thing fully knowing it's not any good. All right, well, we went 4 minutes over that little 40-second deadline. Yeah, it
Yeah.
is. No one wants to be. I'm not gonna lie, I'd probably delete you guys, like, I'd be off the internet. Never happened. Second I started getting traction, I'd be like, "I don't need to see what people think about me. Goodbye.
No.
Done here." But yeah. All right. Thank you so much to everyone who watched any part of this 3-hour live where you kind of got a little bit of a behind the scenes because it's very similar to Steph and I talking
This
without.
is how all of our conversations go, with a few content ideas thrown in for good measure.
Yeah. You're welcome for the behind the scenes live. This was it. Let us know in the comments if you're watching the replay. Let us know if you have any ideas or if you're stealing any ideas. You are more than welcome to them because, yeah, it's community. It's fun to get ideas from each other. And I appreciate everyone who gave me my ideas. So we'll see what May content looks like. Right now, it's a lot of very ranty discussions. So
That's fun. It's still fun.
It is. Thank you, Steph.
Thank you.